Hey there. I thought it would be fun today to have a look at some children's games from the golden age of board games of the early to mid 20th century here. So I have a selection of some of my personal favorites. Of course, Candyland, released in 1949. I've also got Chutes and Ladders. Now, this is a cool one. This is an original Milton Bradley from 1943. There's some interesting history with this one. And then we've got Cootie from Shopper here. Now, this one was from 1949 as well. So, same year as Candyland. In fact, interesting little piece of history is the inventor of Cootie, this would be William Herb Shopper. He had come up with the idea while carving a fishing lure. And so the original Cootie games that were sold in 1948 out of his family's bakery were made of wood. Now, this version is plastic. This is the first commercial version sold, and the commercial versions started selling in 1949, and they had plastic construction. So we'll get more into this game in a little bit, but it's pretty neat for the time. So this is one that I'm really excited to dive into here. But interestingly enough, the story of Candyland, Eleanor Abbott, she had invented the game in 1948 while recovering from polio in a San Diego hospital ward. So it's interesting that in Robbinsdale, Minnesota, we had Herb Shopper coming up with Cootie at the same time as Eleanor was coming up with Candyland in San Diego, and both published a year later for wide release. So I thought that was kind of a neat little correlation. And then over here, I've got Hi Ho Cherry-O. Now, this was originally produced by Whitman Publishers. This is a little late to the party here. We've got 1943, we've got 1949. Now, this one's 1960. It's a counting game designed by Herman Wernhard, and the art was done by Katrin Lindley. And it's gorgeous, by the way. That's the biggest selling point to me of Hi Ho Cherry-O. But each one of these games has a really interesting story. And I thought that we might just take a few minutes and have a look here. So first off, with Chutes and Ladders. Now, this is actually older than you think. So a lot of people are probably going to right away say, "Hey, this is based on Snakes and Ladders," which they would be correct. But Snakes and Ladders is actually based on an older game called Moksha Patam. So this game dates back to the 13th century in India to a game called Moksha Patam that was actually designed to teach people about kama and karma. So, interestingly enough, the design of the game was very similar. Now, there is some historical conjecture here, but it's widely believed that Moksha Patam was produced, or I'm sorry, invented by a well revered yogi named Saint Dhanashwar. I'm not entirely sure how founded that is, but he's a pretty prominent figure in Indian culture. So it is an interesting story if that's the case. I love, by the way, look at the craftsmanship. So first off, Moksha Patam traveled from India to Europe sometime in the 19th century, if I'm not mistaken, and that's where it took on the form of Snakes and Ladders. Now, again, in the original version of the game, instead of having shoots, we would have snakes. So the snakes would represent kama, which was the like negative. So things like vices, for instance, would cause you to fall down, whereas you would ascend ladders through karma, which was good action. And so similarly, snakes and ladders and shoots and ladders features at the bottom and top of the ladders a child doing something positive, just like Moksha Patam would portray something positive, or Snakes and Ladders. And at the top of the ladder, the fruits of their labors, whereas at the top of the chute, they would be doing something mischievous in Shoots and Ladders, or something, some manner of vice in the older games like Snakes and Ladders, and end up at the bottom as a result of karma, or like a negative karma. The goal of Moksha Patam was to ascend to spiritual enlightenment. The goal of Shoots and Ladders is simply to win the blue ribbon here. And Snakes and Ladders was kind of the same thing. They were a morality play. So, interestingly enough, though there's not much free will in this game, the central message is morality, which I find kind of ironic. Moksha Patam, Snakes and Ladders, Shoots and Ladders, all are played with some manner of either, for instance, like Moksha Patam at the time six-sided dice. Polyhedrons like that weren't associated with gambling, so that was common to play with casting sticks, dice, or Cori shells. Oftentimes, Cori shells, you see those little necklaces made out of them, they were used in place of dice. So, for instance, you could take six Cori shells and throw them, and if the open side lands up, that would count as a pip on a six-sided dice. So, that's kind of an interesting thing that I learned about some of the games that got their used in Pachisi, which is a whole nother video. However, that being said, we've got Moksha Patam, Snakes and Ladders, Chutes and Ladders. One thing I don't want you to discount is in 1860, Milton Bradley produced the Checkered Game of Life, which was actually the first time Snakes and Ladders was brought over to an American audience. But it wasn't like Snakes and Ladders in the sense that it had the same art, but it had a very similar theme. It was played on a grid, and good actions allowed you to advance, and viceful actions caused you to fall back. Now, interestingly enough, the spinner in this and the T totem that was used in the Checkered Game of Life, for instance, you'll notice in the modern Game of Life, there's still a spinner. That's a nod to the original Milton Bradley Checkered Game of Life. They are all alternate means of a random number generator outside of using dice, because dice, again, were considered viceful at the time that these games were produced. So that's why we get these spinners, which is kind of interesting. And like I said, the original Checkered Game of Life was played with a T totem. So it was like a top with numbers on it that you would spin. It predated this kind of spinner thing. Now, interestingly enough, when they reinvigorated the Game of Life, and I do have a review where you can see the evolution of the Game of Life. It's pretty interesting. But they brought back the spinner. However, betting on the stock market is actually a central theme in the modernized Game of Life. So, interestingly enough, they're still wagering, which defeats the whole purpose of having the spinner. I thought that was really funny. It straight up looks like a roulette wheel. But when we're looking at Chutes and Ladders and Snakes and Ladders and Matcha Patam, this entry in the history of the game, this is the 1943 Chutes and Ladders. This is the first edition that Milton Bradley ever produced for Chutes and Ladders and for Chutes and Ladders in the United States. And what a beautiful piece of work here. The art is just wonderful. It's all hand drawn. I love the color scheme here, the original grid. Interestingly enough, if you compare it to some historical examples of Snakes and Ladders or Moksha Patam, the actual patterns of snakes are really quite similar to the shoots that we have here as well. But I just love the honestly the cartoons remind me of earlier Boys Life magazine comics. So I thought that was really fascinating here. So we have a lovely board with taped edges. And I guess I'd have to double check if that's a lithographic print. Now, when we open it up, I did pull the spinner out earlier on, but the spinner is stowed right here in this cardboard section. And we do have the player pieces here, which interestingly enough aren't your typical pawns. These are wooden cutouts with little printed characters on them. Like this is Sis, and we have Bonnie, and we have Butch. I always think of when I pull this character out, for some reason, it makes me think of Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction. His character was Butch. The girlfriend that called him Butch. Or no, it was the gal in the taxi kept calling him Butch. I thought that was great. And then we have Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe is a constant winner whenever I have a poll up of which character you want to play in Chutes and Ladders on my channel here. And then I did notice that there is a little scorekeeping thing, and there were names. This is secondhand game, obviously. But what I did notice was written on the box was "Happy Birthday" in 1952. So I thought that was really interesting. And then I have like names written here like Dad, Greg, Noah. So there's the kid did keep score for a little while where they were playing. Interestingly enough, the names are written in, but the scores are only marked on a couple of these, and they look like they had been erased at one point too. But it's in mostly great shape. I have no, it's one of those things where I certainly could go to the trouble of trying to remove. There it is, the Happy Birthday Gerald 1952. I could go to the trouble of removing it. But one of the things that I like about these secondhand games is they sort of have a soul. They have a history. And so certain markings, as long as it doesn't completely deface the game, oftentimes I'll leave those intact during the restoration process. Now, this one does require a little extra restoration. We do still have some taped corners. I got to remove the cellophane and look at rebuilding some of these parts of the box here with some book glue and pulp. And actually, Mrs. Old Crappy Couch is really good at doing this book restoration. So maybe if we ask her nicely, she might be inclined to do that on camera so you can see the process. One thing I do appreciate is the rules are printed on the underside of the box, which, again, any type of game, I always appreciate the rules printed on the underside of the box. However, when it comes to something like a children's game, it's doubly important, as you're not going to be seeing these get destroyed or anything, as it's a key part, a key component of the whole set. So I love these old long boxes too. So kind of a snug fit there. We'll close that up and set that right over here on Candyland. Actually, we can move Cootie. Eh, there we go. We'll just set this aside for a little bit so that we have some space to really appreciate this board here. Again, you start at 1 and ascend to 100. And the whole time you will be spinning this spinner. What I find interesting is, again, there's art on the spinner that's completely meaningless, but you're paying attention to the numbers, but it still adds a nice ambiance to it. You have like a little birthday cake, a little pony, a little boy, a little kid on a trike, a little bunny. That's kind of cute here, kind of looks a little derpy, little math problem. And these cutouts, these are wood bases. And actually, somebody who had seen me do a critique of Chutes and Ladders before had actually pointed out that I want to say it was Cowboy Joe and Bonnie. I'm not 100%, but they had reused these character archetypes in the Milton Bradley game Head of the Class. So I'll need to get a copy of that one and see how close they were. The pictures that they had from their collection were definitely of different manufactured material, so it wasn't quite like this. However, this is kind of interesting to see that this is actually like a thick sort of, I don't know if it's necessarily like a particle board. It's almost like a laminate set into this wood here. It's an interesting material. It's like not so much a particle board as a cardboard or like a pulp product, a pressed pulp product. There's a tongue twister there. Now, interestingly enough, like I said, the central theme of Chutes and Ladders, Snakes and Ladders, and Matcha Patam, it's all morality. And so, what I always find very ironic in this game is they do show you the actions that people take to get either a positive outcome or a negative outcome. And they are really fascinating to watch. I love, like, even things as simple as the kid fishing in a no fishing pond gets a boot in the butt. Or, we've got the boy pulling a girl's hair, and then we can see obviously an adult walking him away, and he looks like he's crying. So obviously he's in quite a bit of trouble. But this board has held up really beautifully. Like I said, the all the edges are taped and reinforced. I love the print on the outside here. There we go. Get some good light on it. Make sure it's not reflecting. This is, just fold this so it's not so awkward. This is really beautiful. The detail, the line art, it's just great. I mean, a lot of games that I'm getting from this era, from the 30s to the 50s, they actually went all out on some of these boards, which in some instances has to do with whether or not it was a luxury long box edition or a small box popular edition. So some of my reviews, you'll see some of the games like my original Sorry or your older Monopolies, they come in a very small box that only holds the components like the cash cards and pawns. And the board is actually separate. And that's because when these games were being sold, some of them were being sold out of department stores with limited space. So they would display the component box on the shelf, and then these boards would just be filed behind the counter, which interestingly becomes a problem when you're thrifting, because a lot of people aren't familiar with that. So they'll see a small box of like Monopoly or Sorry or any number of these small box games, and they won't look for the board because they'll assume that it's in the box. So I've had a number of instances, like I have a really nice Monopoly Popular Edition. It's only defaced by the price tag that the thrift store put on it, which they don't like people tag changing, so they put very aggressive adhesive on. Oh, you had one of these too? Yeah. Did you have the Luigi Girl? Did you have the one from the 80s? I bet that was the next, like the late 70s, mid 80s had a really bright yellow and red motif that I remember was iconic that kept getting used. I think that design started in the late 70s and then it ran through the 80s to the mid 90s. That's the one that I see a lot of people have. But I do find it fascinating that even though it's all about morality, coming back to this, uh, you don't have any choice. You're just using a spinner. There's no free will, which is interesting because you would think that the game would reward good choices, which I think the later version of the Game of Life attempted to do. If you compare this to the checkered Game of Life, which really I gotta find, it is really tough to find some of those older games. I've seen a board of the checkered Game of Life from 1860. Seen. I have scans of one, and I guess I would have to find out. I guess if it's from 1860, I can probably make a reproduction for educational purposes. So maybe I will. I know some printers. I would love to actually get them together because again, it looks so much like Shoots and Ladders. It's hilarious. Once you actually look at the original checkered Game of Life, it's so much like Shoots and Ladders. But again, you don't have a choice. So I always find it fascinating that these games about morality uh, from inception in the 13th century all the way up to the 21st century, the formula hasn't changed. Now, one thing is when the Game of Life was reintroduced in 1960 for the 100th anniversary of Milton Bradley, they had changed the central theme of the game from a morality lesson to something that reflected modern values, as in building yourself a family and a fortune before retirement. So then they changed it out to have the car motif, the landscapes. They replaced the teetotum with a little spinner, and then they had a couple of forked paths where you could choose whether you wanted to buy, for instance, insurance. At the beginning of the game, you had options for insurance, you had options to choose higher education, and then like a career path thing that allowed you some actual free will. So what I think is funny is the game that actually in many ways perverted the original puritanical concept of the morality play in the checkered Game of Life, Macho Baton, Shoots and Ladders. Uh, it ended up giving you a little bit more free will. So you had more opportunity and were encouraged to do some naughty things, but you were also more free and had more control over your actual life in that game. Whereas this one, it's kind of interesting. You just have to kind of roll with the punches. And I still think the art is the biggest selling point of this, in particular the vintage. I had remembered the one from the 80s and everything and thought that that was neat. But once I actually got a copy of this one, I thought it was phenomenal. And when you compare it to a modern, and I do have a link in my description for that review. When you compare it to a modern edition, the modern edition, they really rob you of the real estate on the board as well as the actual art. It's a lot more simplistic. You can tell what they're doing, but in there's just so much more detail and love, and it makes more sense and tells a clearer story on this. Now we might actually get to a gameplay, but I do want to hop into a couple of these other ones while we're looking at the history of some of these games. Maybe we'll play through a few and really rate them. I was actually thinking, since I have 4 games, it's almost worth having a bracket to see which one wins as your ultimate children's game here, because this is again, people forget that though you don't have a whole lot of free will when you're playing a game like this. Oh no, there are a lot of games throughout history that the entire draw is the fact that it's simply a pastime, and mostly an appreciation of the art used to make the game. So that's kind of something that I think people forget about here. This is there we go. I'm also a little bit nervous of starting off on this one with that grid. That was so busy and playing it backwards. We might start with something light like Cootie. But Shoots and Ladders, just the 1943 edition. If you are an antiques connoisseur, this is definitely an edition to get yourself a copy of. Now, we've talked about Candyland a lot. I've covered Candyland, so I'm going to move on to one that now there's a little egg on my face for the original review here. I had not ever seen a Shopper television commercial or one of their products where the logo gave you instructions on the pronunciation. So later Shopper products actually, you'll see this is spelled SCHAPER. And I had only ever known about these games through print. I did a review and I was saying Shaper, Shaper, Shaper. I was a little embarrassed because one of the family members of Herb Shopper had popped in and they were very appreciative of the review. But of course, I felt very silly for having left a video up there with that poor pronunciation. It's just, sometimes you own your mistakes. I'll usually just throw in the comment, hey, I learned this after the fact. And you know what? If I can lead by example, there's no dishonor in learning something through reading. And that's actually one of the reasons why, if I hear somebody mispronounce something, I try to be as gentle as I can in correcting them, because the pursuit of knowledge is an admirable thing. And oftentimes, when you do hear people mispronounce things, it means that they saw it first in print, and that's pretty nice. I mean, you got to realize there are a lot of people not motivated to learn out there today, so we should all really nurture that quality in each other. So, and I do appreciate. I'm. That's not to say anybody was rude to me about mispronunciations. I think Fireball Island, where I called him Valkur instead of Volcar, that one was a little spicy, but even then, people weren't so upset. But this is, it's all a learning process here. Oh, yeah, I got to learn to hold on to my game boxes. This one is awesome. This is an original 1949 Shopper Cootie. The box is a little bit worse for the wear, but we can rebuild it. This is kind of an interesting one where prime example of try to avoid taping your boxes. This is not the color having been taken off. This is actually adhesive residue left on. So there's still some possibility for restoration to get that off without damaging too much of the print. I don't know if I will, but it is a possibility with a gentle hand. But this was one of the better representations of the original Cootie box art. Again, admirable quality of a children's game. The rules are printed on the underside of the box. This pleases the couch. One thing that I also appreciated, let's see if I can. No, I can't cheat. There we go. Hi ho, Cheerio. I want you to support Cootie. Support Cootie in all of your endeavors. There we go. There we go. Okay. I got this, and it's very thin, so I'm trying to be gentle here because you can see it's also started to degrade a little bit just from oxygen exposure here and the natural acids in the paper. But this is a reorder list, and most of the pieces, the head is 15 cents, the body's 15 cents, legs are 15 cents per set, feelers 5 cents per set, mouth, eyes. The box is the most expensive thing at 25 cents. But it's kind of fascinating to me that you can order and in quantity and just send in. I saw this a lot more frequently on older games. They were a lot more interested in selling you the parts and keeping a satisfied customer and just servicing the product that already existed, which, when we talk about how extravagantly we live, how much waste that we generate, I want to point out that back in the day, there was a lot more effort put into selling you replacement parts rather than an entirely new product. And I kind of wish we'd go back to it. I do notice some nice brands like Winning Moves offers a pretty nice catalog of parts on their website. So there are brands that will still resupply you with parts, but it's getting to be more and more of a rarity. But this one, so Cootie in our modern editions is played with a spinner. This one's played with a six-sided die with 6 pips. Now this one's kind of orange, so I think there's a good chance this might actually be Bakelite, which is a pretty neat little material to use for dice. You'd see this on some of the older Monopoly games. I didn't realize they used bakelite for it until another collector pointed out that you can identify it this way. And it's also something that they've used to treat like metals for corrosion and stuff like that. So interesting kind of stuff. We have the bodies stowed up here, the heads. We've got the now I get in trouble for this all the time because I said proboscis is proboscis. The proboscis. It's this thing. Okay, I said proboscis one time a little with too much of an I on the O and just got annihilated on. But this is a fun one. Again, not a serious competitive game. This is melding of a toy and a game to delight a small child. And one thing that I appreciate about all these is all of them do kind of fall in line with an excellent game that I would suggest to play with kids if you are dealing with kids who are ill or not feeling well. You'll notice that this live stream is, of course, supporting Eleanor's Candyland Kids. It's my ongoing fundraiser benefiting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And so, with the theme of some of these games, the original intent of Candyland, as it was invented in a polio ward, was to give children hope. And so, of course, that's why we have this fundraiser going. But I also want to say that all of these games fit that theme really nicely. Even if you're picking up a modern version of Chutes and Ladders, Hi Ho Cherry-O, Candyland, or Cootie, all of them work great if you have a younger kid who doesn't have a whole lot of energy or might not be up to reading or heavy decision making, that sort of thing. So we all have different abilities and different levels of energy at different times. And these are excellent options for either early childhood or kids that are just having a rough time of it. And that's not to be said that these are not great for adults as well. To be honest, the novelty for me on a lot of these historical games is why I like to play them. One, I really enjoy hunting for them when it comes to finding them in antique shows, flea markets, that kind of things. The other thing is, I have a real love for antiques and little pieces of history. I find board game history to be fantastically interesting, and I like to repair, replace, and bring these up. Like this one, the plastic was faded just a little differently, maybe from a different batch, but I did get two 1949s. There were two different print runs. This one is the original box art, which is why I have it on display today. But I did track down a 1949 from a later print run of that same year to get some replacement parts in here. And the only one that doesn't really quite feel right are these two little legs. I was missing two legs, and they're just a slightly lighter pink than the other ones. But other than that, everything else fit really nicely. And I mean, you'll get variants like that. And yes, indeedy, I did have two blue plastic heads and two yellow plastic heads in this when it was original. And yes, indeedy, there was a little bit of a slight pigment difference. You can probably see on camera between the yellows and the blues there. So even going back then, the plastics industry, though it was just booming at the time, between the 40s and 60s, we see a huge escalation in plastic inclusion in toys and games. But even then, from batch to batch, there were pigmentation differences in the plastics. So you have to remember the industry was still growing and imperfections happen. But this one, yeah, everything is completely random, much like Candyland or Shoots and Ladders. The idea is you start with a body. Let's do one just for fun here. We'll take a red body, and if we roll a number two, we get a head. A three, we get an antenna. A five, we get a proboscis. Somebody's going to lose their mind at how I'm screwing that up and try to correct me in print, which is just going to make it worse. An eye or leg. So let's see how many rolls it gets us to build ourselves a cootie with the original 1949 edition of Cootie. I figure this one won't be too long here. We got a four, so that's one eye there. Let's see if I can. Oh, well, I don't really have anywhere to put it. I guess I have to get the head first, don't I? Okay, well, let's roll till we get a two. I think I do, according to the rules, have to at least get the two before I can start building. Oh, man. Okay, well, I haven't gotten a two yet. Ah, found it. Okay, this is. Well, maybe a kid would lose their patience. There, we got a two. There we go. Now we have the head to our cootie. I only lost the dice once. I got a six, so I have a leg. There we go. We'll just do back right. There we go. And these are kind of, the pieces are all touchy, and I don't want to be forceful with something from this vintage here. Oh, that would have been another head. That would have also been another head. It took me forever to get a head. Now I get nothing. I get nothing. You get nothing, sir. You get nothing. I actually think you almost have to roll. Yeah, you have to roll a one to get the body. So I already cheated. See, I should have refreshed on the rules. So in sequence, you have to roll a one to get the body. You have to roll a 2 to get the head, and then you have to try to roll your way up from there and get what you can get. There we go. We got a 6. Trust me, I'm not taking this too seriously. This is just a hoot. Uh, oh no. You know what? There we go. That's how finicky these plastics are. There we got a 5. Oh, we got our proboscis. See? Now you can probe. But he's kind of one-sided here. We need, well, that was another proboscis. Well, that was another one. There we go. Oh, no, nope, that's not an antenna, that's a head. 4, we have an eye. We got a one-eyed, one-tongued cootie little guy. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, there we go. Got a 6. We got another leg. Okay. Now, if we're going to name my little man Tripod for the time being. 1. That's another body. Oh, he can't stand it. Here we go. We got our eye. I love the face. Yes, Build a Bug Workshop indeed. See, here's the deal. Single player, I can actually speed run this a little bit. Imagine having to take turns and just being so frustrated. I do remember when I got an antenna. When I was reviewing this, it was hilarious to me because I don't take this game horribly seriously, as nobody should. This is really just a complete luck-based experience. Honestly, think of it this way. Half the joy for some little kids is simply running the spinner or throwing a die. So keep in mind, your kids are still, in most instances, going to be delighted. And it is fun. It's kind of like a weird hangman game, if you think about it. How close are we? We got to get an antenna and one more leg. And it's just not, I need to roll a 3 and a 6. I got a 6. I got one leg. There we go. We just need one more antenna and we have built our cootie. I didn't even count because after a while, after just the first few, I was like, this is just going to take forever. The die is really satisfying to roll, though. This one has nice weight. There we go. Got our 3. We have a cootie. Look at how lovely that cootie is. Look at how lovely that cootie is. You just stay right there, cootie. You're going to hang out with me a little bit while we do this. All right. There we go. So as you can see, Cootie is not a very demanding game. You're just taking turns rolling or spinning. The modern one has a spinner. This one has a die. There's no decision making to be had. You're just hanging out and being social. And I think that's kind of important. Is you got to remember, a lot of these these games that are skewed towards younger kids are really just trying to teach kids the dynamics of how games work. Like, for instance, the patience to wait your turn. And interestingly enough, you might not think it, but engineering does come into play with this a little bit, and teaching a kid how to assemble something, even as simple as fitting these plastic pieces together. So there's a lot to be said. And I want to point out that even though a lot of people might like to diss on simple games like this, Herb Shopper built an entire game and toy empire off of this. A lot of games like Don't Spill the Beans, Don't Break the Ice, Ticklebee, tons of toys came from the Cootie board game that he created here, simply by whittling himself a fishing lure and turning it into a game. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. Let's hop over here to Hi-Ho Cheerio. Hi-Ho Cheerio. Okay, so this one I got mixed feelings about. It was produced in 1960 by Whitman Publishers. It was originally designed by Herman Wernhard with art by Katrin Lindley. And it's a beautiful game. Like, the print is, even on the game board, just the art is gorgeous. This is wonderful. Now, again, they have the rules printed on the underside of the lid of the box, which is always something that pleases me. So the original Hi-Ho Cheerio from 1960 pleases the couch. I like how the cardboard organizer actually is integral to the game itself. So each of the 4 players has their own little bucket, their own little tree. This is another one that gets me. So I have a lot of games. This one's going to be tough to bring back to full quality because it has these cherries that the the stem is like a plastic or resin coated fiber, like a green string that's then been coated in a hardener, and then the ends are dipped in some sort of red lacquer. They actually look quite lovely and they make for wonderful cherries. But this set is missing exactly one cherry, and it drives me bonkers because there are a lot of games in my collection that were sold as complete and ended up missing a piece. So that was sometimes I was able to get a better price by noticing it. Sometimes not. Sometimes it was like, well, missing one piece doesn't make it incomplete. Yeah, it kind of does, but people have weird arguments. Any anyway, this one is going to be a little bit tougher because most games, when I'm replacing parts, the parts are generally something that's a little bit more common or at least not as easy to destroy. And I'm noticing that it can be a little bit tough to get an original 1960 Hi Ho Cheerio for a parts kit. So these games really, I guess when they're geared towards younger kids, they get loved extra hard. I know, am I annoying anybody by just kind of randomly going around to different trees and throwing these out? Yeah, it's the setup is a little rough. We have these little holes here in these trees that act as little sockets that you put the cherry on. Now, this has not really changed. I actually did a review of the more recent Hio Cheerio, which I got to double check if that is I got it behind me here. I think it might be like 2015 was the last time they did a real redesign on it. Now that's the Hasbro one. And the Hasbro one looks to be absolute trash. I'm going to get that out of the way. The cherries are so small and they reduce it down. I have a review linked in the description too, so you can see this. The cherries are so small, I actually think they're dangerous. And you might be looking at me setting this up right now going, geez, aren't the cherries in that set already small enough to be dangerous? And they look delicious. I mean, they really do. They really do. These look like candy. Um, but they're obviously not candy. These are still larger than what was included in the modern version. The modern version also reduces the amount of baskets down to just one. So now all players are sharing a basket, which kind of makes this difficult when you see the dynamic of the game. So how this works is each player has their own tree. Blue, guess, has an advantage by not having a cherry. Uh, you spin this spinner, and it will either land on one, two, three, or four cherries, and that's how many you get to pick out of your tree and put in your basket. But if you get a dog or a bird here, if you spin and you get a dog or a bird, you have to put two cherries back. If you land on the basket that's spilled over, you have to put your whole basket back to the tree. So this is I mean, it is a counting game at its core, but again, it's completely random luck. I'm going to play as green just because green's right in front of me and it keeps the title towards you. But like one, two, take a little drink here. Yeah, this is one that was for very little kids. Okay, so we got two. Let's see where we go here, and we get another two. Excellent. I'm actually my confidence is feeling very well built up. Oh no, it's right on the line, but it is a complete spill. Uh, uh. Okay, so I lost everything. See, now this is another complete spill again. This is another one of those interesting games where it's right on the line, but I'm calling it that I get four because I had two complete spills. Uh, teaching counting, relatively simple motor skills. The picking is really pleasant. I love the little stems on the cherries on these old ones, and this is where we really cheated our kids in the modern edition because it is just. I have it here. I might as well. What year was this? I was so 2013. 2013. I was so annoyed with this in the review. I think I broke my own rule about game storage. I bet you I did. The rules, like they could have printed them on the underside of the box. You were on the verge of greatness, Hasbro, and you just couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. They had you beaten in the 60s. Look at that. So they changed it out. We got three different colored trees. and one basket. Well, why on earth? Why are the kids sharing one basket? Because the game still plays the same. You still have a spinner. You still have a bird, a dog, and a basket. The spinner is actually quite nice. What I do appreciate from the spinner is they added this little fin up top, and it's got like two twin fins next to each other. So when you flick it, it doesn't hurt your fingernail, and you're not damaging anything. Like a lot of these that have a spinner, you'll notice there's quite a bit of wear where people's fingers have hit the art. So that was a bonus. But look at this pathetic excuse for a cherry. Look at that. Look at that tiny. Does that show up on camera? Can you see that? Is that? Hey, do I have acne? Do I have, okay. These. When I say I broke my rule about game storage, I usually bag or package everything nicely. But in this one, I had such disdain for the game because the components were so small. I actually straight up refuse to play this with a young child. This particular edition of Hi Ho Cherry-O can kick bricks because I think that the choking hat, one, the cherries are so small and the stems are so minuscule that handling them is not a joy. They almost pop right through the board too. Handling these is not a joy. Not like these. Not like these. These make me happy. These make me happy. I like to pick them and I feel happy. These I feel sad. I feel like I live in a plastic dystopia. They couldn't even get rid of the little seam line from the molding process. And this is so tiny. If a kid put, look at that, that's a rigid plastic stem. I don't know if you can see that. There's a rigid plastic stem about a half-inch long, little less than a centimeter, extending out from the cherry. And there's, given the size and everything, I want to point out Bic, the company that makes pens, saved lives by putting vents on their pen caps. And this is like the anti version of that. Like this is not only a choking hazard, but it has a barb. I actually said in my review for this game, I actually said the devil himself could not come up with a worse choking hazard aimed directly at young children, and my feelings on that still hold. And this whole three, they reduced the player count from 4 to 3, and then reduced the baskets to 1, which makes me think that it's like a very soft nudge towards communism, but it's completely misguided because they have to sort their own colored cherries out when they win or lose. Can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Have it like as a kid, okay, so you lost a cherry, but everybody's putting them in here, so I got to pour it out and I got to pick out the colors and then put them back and then put this back and then put, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? I know what they're thinking. Hasbro was thinking we're going to do such a crud job at making this game that the only person who's going to play it is a very lonely child who is stuck with very few options. Because don't buy this, please don't. I don't even think I'm an Amazon affiliate, and I put like affiliate links in a lot of my videos because I have varying tastes from people who watch. I mean, to be sure, there are games that I've adored that people who've watched have hated, and vice versa. The thing is, at the end of the day, I still need to earn an income, so I will put the affiliate link because, like for instance, I reviewed Ravensburger's Princess Bride game. I didn't really like it, but people still liked it, and people still bought it from that review. You know, everybody has different tastes, and that's okay. But um, that game I thought was downright dangerous. So I don't even offer an affiliate link because I don't want to be associated with some poor kid getting that game. But this version, the original, and this is why we're doing this today. I love these antique games. They're so full of kitsch. I just, these cherries are. I actually, what confused me was when I first got this. When I was looking at these cherries and how they're constructed and how the little stems are this kind of like resin coated string, I was actually starting to wonder if this was fuse. Like I was sitting there going, did they just like make inert cherry bombs? Is this like a little inside joke or something? Like there's no, like there's it just it doesn't sit like I'm not insinuating there's gunpowder in these to make them burn like a fuse, but I mean the material reminded me of like a firecracker fuse, like a waterproof firecracker fuse in texture and everything. So I was like, huh, I wonder if that's where they took inspiration on how they did it. I'm curious with the design process here. But yeah, this can be fun and frustrating, But at the same time, you got to remember when you're playing with younger kids, setbacks are just as important as successes. That's one thing that I deal with all the time when I talk about Candyland, which I do frequently. You'll also notice, of course, if you're just tuning in, we've got the Eleanor's Candyland Kids fundraiser going on right now that benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So I talk about Candyland a lot. Big fan of Eleanor Abbott's work here. You know, she didn't design any other games. She never sought fame. In fact, I have had a hard time. I tried to source an image of her and couldn't find one. She really just wanted to live a normal life, and actually, she didn't keep all of the profits from Candyland. She took a lot of the money that she made from that game and reinvested it in school programs for kids. She was really dedicated to young kids. So that was just an impressive story. That's why I love Candyland so much. I won't tolerate anybody trashing on Candyland being a bad game. For what it was designed to do, it did it absolutely perfectly. Oh no. Oh, there we go. Good catch. Uh, yeah, Candyland did its job perfectly. I think a lot of these early childhood games do their jobs perfectly. I do think that Shoots and Ladders and Snakes and Ladders and the Checkered Game of Life is a really interesting uh, lineage for a board game. What's funny is how many people trash on Shoots and Ladders, yet how many people play it. Oh, it's always amusing to me when I review a game. See, it's trying to go again. We're just going to take it off the easel until we get the whole box done. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see if I can clear a tree. But that's the thing when you're playing with a lot of these games. Ooh, two cherries. They're just meant to teach people how to take turns and do some very, very basic things. Oh, I lost my two cherries. And sometimes it's not so much about the gameplay itself, it's about the company that you have while you're playing and the interaction. We have a time right now where people are complaining that their kids are glued to screens, but how are you supposed to try to entice a child away from the instant gratification that they get from some of these tablet games and YouTube videos and things like that? Well, you know, sometimes just direct interaction is the answer. I mean, you can't just peel a kid away from something so stimulating and then just go outside and play. Well, no. You got to do something. You got to give them a reason. And also, I think a lot of people are missing out on wonderful opportunities to engage their children that these, gameplay sessions like this can teach a lot of really interesting life skills and lead to a lot of fantastic conversations and bonding moments. So, don't think about these games as what the experience of the game is as far as complexity, difficulty, decision making, strategy until the kid gets old enough to start being concerned about that. Remember that sometimes it's literally just that they have an excuse to hang out with you. Think about playing catch. Are we keeping score when we're playing catch? No, no, not at all. Not at all. Look at this, though. I just want to say, as I've been playing this, talking with you, man, it is tough to clear this tree. And I keep spinning the doggy and the bird. There, I got one cherry. But this is, you cannot tell me that this is not meant to just keep you at the table and promote nice, healthy conversation and fun. And, that's the other thing is something about these games where it's not skill. When you lose a game like this or win a game like this, so much of it is luck that it often takes away from the hard feelings. We see a lot of people, interestingly enough, I see it in adults too. I see a lot of people who just don't know how to handle a setback or a loss and they get awfully emotional. And the thing is it's even worse if you've been working and putting a lot of effort into what you're doing when you fall down. It can be very easy to understand an emotional reaction. But I think that games like this where you're not that's on the line, but I'm calling it 4 because it looks close to 4. Whoo, whoo, there we go. I want to get close to this. When I lose, it doesn't matter. I still dumped everything. When I lose, see, I'm not upset about losing my entire score, and I was almost winning there. You know why? Because it didn't matter. I didn't do anything special to gain that score, and it's all just a matter of can we actually pull this off? Can we actually spin the right? There we go. just learning to be able to take a loss, learning to be able to take a setback. That was one of the reasons I was really upset about them removing Plumpy from Candyland. They introduced Plumpy, the sugar plum troll, in the 1984 edition of Candyland. Before that, they didn't really have any characters or anything. But what's interesting is uh, in Candyland, they always had opportunities for you to get stuck or jump ahead. But it wasn't until they added characters that you actually saw kids have kind of extreme reactions to those setbacks. So I think it's funny because I actually even I thought that Milton Bradley slash Hasbro removing Plumpy was kind of a travesty, and a lot of people agreed with me. But I was actually surprised at how many people in the comments did own up to, like, hey, when I was a kid, to be honest, I freaked out when I got Plumpy because it set me all the way back, and it used to drive me nuts to the point that, my mom or my siblings would take the card out of the deck when we'd play so that nobody would get set back that far. Oh, look at this. Oh, we got 4 cherries left. Can we do it? Can we do it? Oh, got a few setback. But that's the thing too, is having that reaction is also part of learning. Hey, that's on the 4 side. Pretty clearly, really close. Learning not to. Like, first off, confronting and experiencing those emotions is the first step at learning how to contend with them. So I don't think that it's necessarily fair to remove the source of that type of stimuli from a game. Games should offer. There we go, 3. We cleared our tree. Look what I did. I had a sense of accomplishment, and I didn't even do anything. Uh, experiencing setbacks, experiencing frustration in a way where the stakes are not super high helps condition somebody to be able to experience those emotions in situations where there are more serious stakes and be able to handle them in a healthy way. And that's something that's oft overlooked when we're looking at games like this, is sometimes the learning is much deeper than we give it credit for. Like, was this really that much of a counting game? Well, maybe for a really young kid, yes, it's very helpful. But as an adult playing this game, especially if I was playing it with other adults, I would consider, actually, if I was playing a game like this with other adults, one, it's because we both really appreciate antiquities, and two, I would consider this type of gameplay a social lubricant, an excuse to chat and visit, discuss the game and its merits itself, or discuss other related games, or simply enjoy each other's company. So it's also all in how you approach the game. I should have been storing these underneath here so that there's no weight on the top. Again, very ingenious. I love the little. See, everybody gets their own little score basket. The spinner is. This is such an efficiently designed game. I appreciate this. Even the modern edition, the modern edition has a smaller footprint, and then they take the spinner right out of it and everything. Like this, this doesn't need any improvement. I do want to try out the Winning Moves edition. Winning Moves made they market it as a retro edition, but it's really not. It doesn't look at all like this, but it looks beautiful because it's got a vacuum set of trees on the board. So I'm interested to see if the cherries are nicer. Maybe I just have the wrong size easel. There we go. It's like that scene in the movie Arthur. Okay. Oh, hello, Cootie. Are you having fun? Are you having fun? I hope so. I'm having a blast. I love going through all this stuff here. This is Candyland. You've seen me talk ad nauseum about Candyland this week. I'm still going to talk about Candyland. I love Candyland. Candyland is one of those games where I'm going to be real with you. The reason I got so heavy into promoting Candyland on this YouTube channel early on, I like all antiques. To be honest, Old Crappy Couch didn't start out as strictly a board gaming channel, nor is it intended to stay strictly board gaming. I like to have a little bit of vintage uh, toy content in here, though I have had some modern. I like my Hot Wheels and everything. Um, I want to continue to expand into things. I'm not going to abandon board games, not by any means. They're just one facet of my interest in classic toys and antiques and stuff. But for whatever reason, board games were what really took off and helped me grow the channel early on. And so I definitely embraced it. I mean, hey, give the people what they want, right? If you guys are interested in it, I'm interested in it. Let's talk. But Candyland became kind of an interesting sore subject early on in my channel's history because I really didn't like how much people were trashing on Candyland. Like if you go on boardgamegeek.com, if you look at a lot of people's criticisms of this game, they talk about how the minute the deck is shuffled, everybody's fate is set. It's scarcely a game. You're just going through the motions. Well, yeah, but you also have to look at the reason the game was designed. And be it that it was designed to help give hope to kids who had a really nasty illness that robbed them of their energy, their cognitive abilities. That this is so wonderfully crafted to do exactly what it was meant to do. And I feel like what's funny is when you see these harsh criticisms about Candyland being a bad game, I would say that I would liken that to the phrase judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, and the fish will feel worthless its entire life. This was a game not designed for hardcore gamers who wanted to make decisions. This was designed for children who could barely keep their eyes open, who might not be old enough to read or count. And it was also designed for children who were living in a drab, dark. Look at the pictures of those polio wards, man. This was designed in a polio ward. And you go back, you see historical images of children in iron lungs, rows and rows and rows of children, and you got to remember too, they didn't just like live in those iron lungs. There were some people who were stricken bad enough that they had to stay in the iron lung. There were a lot of kids that were in them for a few hours a day, various different treatments. Imagine being confined as a child to a big apparatus that kept your whole body inside and changed pressure so that you could breathe, and all that's exposed is your head for hours a day. Of course, any small thing is going to be a great distraction, and this does a great job. It's beautifully colored. The art is wonderfully rendered. Now, this is the 1955 edition. I do want to get a 1949 because as I understand it, the 1949 edition features some art that was actually produced by Eleanor Abbott herself, and I would love to get that. I'd probably frame it, honestly. This is so far the oldest one I was able to get. The art's really close. It's the same amount of spaces, same map, same locations, just a few updates. And as you can see, instead of having Plumpy, we have like the candy hearts. There is still a card that can take you all the way back to the beginning. So I find it fascinating that cards that take you all the way to the end, like the ice cream floats, darn near hands you a victory. And then we've had the dynamic in the game since the game's inception, but at some point in the 90s, we decided that people were too soft for Candyland. And that kind of makes me giggle. You know what I mean? That's that's sort of funny. But this is just what a not. Now, the other interesting thing is this one being 55, it looks every bit like 1955. But oh boy, unfortunately, me no habla español. Um, but I think that's Spanish. I'm not sure. But this art style that they changed from the original. I've seen pictures from the original. It's funny because it is kind of an update to the 50s style from 1949, which has a little bit more of a pointed and plain style. So that's why I'd love to get them for a comparison here. But this older Candyland, I mean, when I was playing it earlier on live stream, this one has just over 200 spaces. In the 60s, they reduced it down to 160 spaces, and then they continued to reduce it. But this one can be a surprising level of difficulty here. In fact, I mean, we might as well roll one just because, hey, we're here. It's good for a game of Candyland here. We'll just Roy G. Biv it up and have some fun. But I love the art on the 55. The 84 is really the 84 is the one that has my heart because that's the one that I had growing up. And I've seen, I guess they did have an edition in the early 90s, which I do need to get a hold of a copy of that one because I guess it has the same characters from 84 on a slightly different design of the board. Let's move Cootie. Cootie is going to keep track and help the Candyland kids. They did make a 1990 that has like Lord Licorice, Plumpy, I mean, Jolly, all the characters that we know from the 84 edition on slightly different art. And now I'm curious because this is the nerd in me. I was recently watching Dickie Roberts' Child Star, that David Spade movie. It's an SNL movie. It's mid, but charming, but mid. Uh, but the end sequence, it had something that really spoke to me. I thought it was fascinating. Is one of his character, Dickie Roberts' character's fondest memories growing up was playing Candyland. And he's a little old compared to the other people he's dealing with at the time. So they're all like, Candyland, what's that? But near the end of the movie, he actually does get a hold of a copy of Candyland. He's got I, I have it off camera here, but he gets the 2010 edition. And then when they show the board on the table, because I was familiar enough, I noticed that was not the 2010 edition board. They went back and it looked like the 84, but I actually think it might be like a 91 or 92. So I want to find it and compare it to that film frame. This is how nerdy I am, as I see a stupid SNL film with Candyland, a mismatched board to mismatched box, and go, wait a minute, I have to narrow down how exactly they screwed this up. So weird. Should get a life. Now let's play Candyland. Pick your team: red, yellow, green, or blue. Red's going first. And red scores a gingerbread man right out of the gate. Where even is the gingerbread man? Right here. Gingerbread plum tree. That's right. Gingerbread plum tree is what they call that. Oh boy. Here we go. Yellow. Yellow gets a double green. There we are. Advancing 7 spaces right next to the candy hearts. Green pulls a blue and just gets on the board. Green has been the last couple times we've played Candyland. Green has gotten the short end of the stick. Okay, I promise I will play Chutes and Ladders after this, but man, I hate Chutes and Ladders. I don't like the gameplay. I think the game is a fantastic history and everything. Blue draws 2 blues, by the way. Blue's sitting here going, don't get distracted. I want my score. Chutes and Ladders is okay. It's just kind of tedious. It's not as fun as some of the other ones. But I love the art and I love the history. And red draws a blue and advances 2 spaces. I don't know. What's your favorite game out of these so far? Do you have a different early childhood game that you remember fondly? Go ahead and throw it up in the comments. I'd love to hear. Yellow out of these so far. Do you have a different early childhood game that you remember fondly? Go ahead and throw it up in the comments. I'd love to hear. Yellow pulling a red here and pulling past the candy hearts. All right. Green, time to pull ahead just a little bit. Green gets a blue and at least sidles up next to blue team. Can share a space, but the pawns are awfully close. Blue scores another blue and pulls ahead of yellow, getting into second place. I have a feeling red's going to get ahead and then get pulled back with like the candy hearts or the candy cane here. Let's see what red gets. Red gets a red. Advances 4. Yellow, you ready for this? Yellow. Yellow pulls a yellow, as yellow do, and moves ahead 4 spaces, advancing past blue in the second position. Green. Green pulls a yellow and advances 2 spaces. All right, time for blue. Team blue, are you ready for this one? Team blue scoring a double orange, advancing 3 spaces ahead of yellow and then an additional 6 spaces past the peppermint stick forest. All right, red, are we ready? Red scores. Ends up missing the Gumdrop Mountain Pass and advances only 2 spaces. But I mean, can only build so much of a lead. Yellow gets a double blue. So first advancing 5 spaces and then an additional 6 for a total of 11. That was a good pull, Team Yellow. Team Green pulls a purple and advances 4 spaces. Not bad. Now it's ready for Team Blue. Team Blue and Team Yellow are in contention for second place, but Team Blue doesn't quite pass up Yellow. Team Blue draws a purple and falls in just behind Team Yellow. So now it's time for Team Red to really build up that lead. And we got a purple heading out 5 spaces here. Again, this is just, look at how simple this is. I love the interaction of just hanging out and playing Candyland. It's so fun. Yellow is getting a blue and moving 6 out here. It's light enough. That's what I'm saying is if you're dealing with somebody where you just want to be able to have a conversation, a nice interaction, This one doesn't require much thought. It's wonderful for, we like to think that it's only early childhood, but I have dealt with a number of occasions where honestly, I'm just as happy to play this and appreciate the art with an adult or a wide range of people at a family event. Green is getting orange, advancing 4. All right, blue, are we ready for this? We've had a lot of ado before drawing for blue. Blue gets a purple and sidles up just behind yellow. So red is still in first position, yellow in second, blue in third, and green bringing up the tail here. So red, let's see where we go with this one. Red draws a red and advances 6 spaces. Yellow, are we going to build that lead ahead of blue, or is blue going to overtake you on this turn? Yellow gets a purple, advances 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, 6 spaces. Okay, there you go. You're building up that lead. Green, are you going to close that gap? Green gets an orange and does, in fact, close that gap by advancing 7. Blue, it's a moment of truth. Blue gets a green, advances 2. So blue has dropped back. Yellow is closing the gap on red and building a spread between second and third place. Red, time for some oh no! Red drew the candy cane and gets pulled all the way back to the peppermint stick forest. See, this is what I'm saying when we're talking about setbacks here. When we're playing games, Candyland's not only a wonderful pastime, teaches young kids to wait for their turns, how to deal with frustration tolerance, a setback, learning how to deal with a setback when there are no stakes. Huge, huge. Yellow, what do we got? Yellow gets purple and advances 6. Yellow hit the mountain pass and gets to slide right across. What a commanding lead, Team Yellow. Team Green, here we are. Team Green hitting it on the red. They're moving up 1. Team Green is really getting some rough draws this game. Team Green had a hard time last time I played Candyland too. Team Blue gets a double yellow, advancing first 1 space and then an additional 7 for 8 spaces there. All right, so we have a pretty good spread here. Yellow is now taking the lead by quite a bit, followed up by blue, green in third place, and red taking up the rear. Here we go. Red draws a double red in an upset, jumping 5 spaces on green and then an additional 6 for a total of 11, pulling into third place. Yellow draws the lollipops and ends up in the lollipop woods, cutting off. This is a massive portion of the track. Almost 30% of the track gets cut for Team Yellow. Team Yellow bringing it in today. Nice work. All right, Team Green, let's get a lucky draw. Get up to the ice cream floats. Give them some competition here. Team Green pulling a blue. Not what I was expecting. Advancing 2 spaces on the board. Team Blue. Is blue going to bring this one up? Blue gets a green here. 5. There we go. All right. And red. Here we are. Red draws a red and moves 6 spaces. So we're in third place after holding first for so long. Yellow. Here we go. Yellow gets a red and advances 3 spaces. All right, green, you ready? Green pulls a green, advances 1 space. Green, Team Green, man, it just hurts. All right, and blue, here we go. Blue draws a purple. We advance 4 spaces, Team Blue. Look at this lead yellow's got. The other shoe's got to drop. The other shoe's got to drop or yellow's just going to absolutely tear everybody apart. All right, red, time for some magic. You ready, Team Red? Team Red draws a purple, advances 2. Can't say that helped. How about Team Yellow? How's Team Yellow building this lead? Team Yellow draws a yellow, as is the style, and moves ahead 4. All right, Team Green. Team Green draws a yellow and moves ahead 1. Team Blue. Team Blue is in second place with over 30% of the board between them in first position. We're going to make magic happen, Blue. Double Orange advances 4 and then an additional 7 for 11. That was actually a good pull, Blue. Good pull. All right, red. Here we go. Let's close the gap. Well, kind of. We got a red on red, advancing 5, so not too bad. Red pulls red, as is the style. Quite fashionable. Quite fashionable. Yellow. Where are we going? Yellow gets a green, advancing 6 spaces. Yellow's going to tie this one up. I'm confident that yellow can actually tie it up before we have to reshuffle the deck, which is interesting. The last time I played with 4 players like this, or rather soloed 4 players, we had to reshuffle. All right, Team Green. Team Green pulls a yellow and advances 6 spaces. Ooh, the excitement's getting palpable. Blue. Blue pulls a double green. That was a good pull. 5 spaces and then an additional 6. Another 11 right there. Blue's certainly giving it the old college try. And then we get red here. Can red make some magic? If we pull a purple, we can get that mountain pass shortcut. Red pulls ice cream floats, is now 2 spaces behind yellow for second place. There it is. Closing it up, baby. Yeah. All right. All right. Here we go. Yellow. Let's see. Is yellow going to build that lead? Yellow gets an orange and gets 2. So not too far. So this is going to be a neck and neck run here. We don't have many options because the ice cream and the lollipops have been drawn. So everything else is either gumdrops or peanut brittle. So if any of the food's drawn by red or yellow, it's going to be a drawback. It could still pull blue or green potentially ahead. Let's go here, green. Green pulls a green, very fashionable. Gets 6 spaces here. Blue, here we are. Blue gets an orange and moves ahead too. All right. And red, here we are. Red pulls a blue, moves 1. So red is still in second position. Yellow. Yellow pulls a yellow, as yellow do, and advances 5. Team yellow, man, you're loyal to your color. All right, team green. Team green pulls a red, advances 3 spaces, just shy of the mountain pass here. And team blue pulling an orange, advances 6 spaces. This is getting to be a rough one. All right. Team red, let's make some magic happen. Team red pulls a yellow and moves 2. Not as magical as I was hoping. Team yellow pulls an orange and moves 1. So, all right. It's the 2 lead pawns are in the most underwhelming position right now. All right. Green, here we go. Green pulls a green and moves ahead 3 spaces. And blue, bringing up third place, blue. Blue gets a double purple. Not the best dub I've seen on the board, though. They advanced 2 on the first and then an additional 6. So, I mean, it was an 8. So, blue is chewing up some track there, but still really lagging behind. Still almost a third of the board behind. All right, red, here we go. Red gets the gumdrops and drops all the way back to the past the mountain pass. It's, okay. Yellow draws a red and moves 1. Maybe I spoke too soon when I thought that yellow was going to bring this together here. Green, what do we got? Green got a double red, 1. So that's 3 spaces and then an additional 5, 6, 7 spaces. So for 10 spaces, green taking third place away from red team. Blue now in second draws peanut brittle, which is actually a pretty good run. I mean, it's close to peanut brittle, but that's a 9 space run. So team blue, I got to give it to team blue. Team blue has consistently been getting pretty decent runs these last few draws. All right, team red, let's see if we can bring in some miracles. Got yellow, which gives me 5 and then an additional 7. That was a good one. 12 spaces off that card. All right, yellow draws a single yellow, as yellow do, and moves 4. All right, green, where are we at? Green goes to orange, moves 5 spaces ahead. We're going to have to reshuffle. Blue, you ready for this? Blue gets a yellow. Again, chewing up some board, advances 6. I don't think blue's gotten less than 5 for a good while now. All right. Oh, that's the discard pile. Red, you see the discard pile has now gotten taller than. All right, red. Red gets a double purple, not bad. 3 and then an additional 6, so 9. Nice. All right. Yellow draws a green, advancing 5 spaces. Now, here's my here's my only hope for one of the trailing teams. I almost said my only hope because I'm rooting for red here. Just because it's my channel logo color. Um, Yellow could still get stuck in the molasses swamp here, and that could be catastrophic and allow the rest of the players to catch up. Green, where are we at? Green draws green and moves ahead 5 spaces. All right, last card in this one is the hearts. Blue got the hearts and is drawn all the way back. The Plumpy of the 1955 edition, the Candy Hearts. Tragic. Tragedy strikes. Okay, here we go. So we got a reshuffle. Currently, yellow is on the home stretch here, probably within about 20 squares of the end. Well, I'm not going to necessarily count that, but just they're tiny. But yellow is in the lead and has a huge margin of about a third of the map, almost half the map on the rest of the competition. Red following up in second place after a massive fallback to the Peppermint Forest. And then blue in an upset falls from second to fourth, getting pulled all the way from the crooked the crooked peanut brittle house to the Candy Hearts. Green, however, Green has not suffered any major setbacks, nor has Green gotten any good fortune throughout this game. All of Green's draws have been extremely underwhelming, which is really difficult to deal with. So, Team Green really seems to be getting stepped on pretty hard these last few games that we've played, because I played through I had a marathon session the other night where we played every edition of Candyland that I had on hand from 1955 to 2025. So 5 different variations of it. There are many more out there in print. That's just what I have. And it was pretty brutal. I think Green did come through on one of them. Now I got to remember, because it's funny. I just erased the scoreboard last night when I was cleaning up, and Red won 2 of the 5, and then everybody else got 1. So that was kind of an interesting one there. But I think Green won on the 2021 edition. I think the 2021 edition, which was kind of the cruddy edition of Candyland, but it's also like the shortest track that you can play on for Candyland. All right, here we go. We got a good shuffle, I think. Best of luck to everybody. The rotation begins with red. Red draws a red and advances 5 spaces. Here we go. Yellow draws a blue and does end up stuck in the molasses swamp. As the prophecy said. Okay, I gave it a name and it happened. Oh no. Oh, Team Yellow, please don't hate me for that. Okay. Team Green, here we go. Team Green draws a double blue, gets a 5 and then an additional 6 for an 11 move. That was actually a good move, Team Green. That was pretty good. Team Blue, are we going to have any manner of luck whatsoever? Team Blue draws a red and advances 1. I am so sorry, Team Blue. This one is hurting you. All right. Team Red draws a red and advances 6 spaces. Still on the early half of the board, Yellow can still pull this off. Yellow, where are we at? Yellow draws double purple, so does not get out of the swamp. In order for Yellow to escape, currently, Yellow needs to draw a blue card to be able to advance out of the swamp. Okay, here we go, Green. Green gets a double orange, Moves 2, and then an additional 6 for 8, sidling right behind red, barking right up red's back door. All right, blue, here we go. Blue draws a yellow, advancing 4 spaces. Blue had such a tear going. I feel so bad for Team Blue. All right, Team Red. Team Red draws a red. Very fashionable choice, Team Red. Very fashionable. Moves forward 6 spaces. There we are. Great action. Yellow. Do we believe in the heart of the cards? The cards have betrayed you, yellow, and squandered a really great double green, which could have made the game for somebody else. How selfish of you. All right, green. Green draws an ice cream float. Green is up at the ice cream floats. Go after holding up the rear for the majority of the game. What luck. This is still anybody's game. Green can still close this distance now. All right, Team Green. Team Green, it's your time is coming. Team Blue, are you going to get redemption? Team Blue draws a yellow, advancing 6 spaces. See, this is why when I reshuffle, I actually like, according to the rules, if you have to reshuffle the deck, you're supposed to leave the little candies out of it so that people don't get drawn back. I disagree. I think you go whole hog. It makes the game so much more fun. All right, red, here we go. Red draws a purple and advances 1 space. Yellow draws a red, does not advance. Green draws an orange, advances 4. Blue draws a yellow, advances 6. Here we go, red. Come on, little red redemption. That's like a precursor to the Red Dead Redemption thing, like Little Red. Okay, sorry. 5 spaces for red. I didn't mean to distract you guys. It's not like, the world is hanging in the balance in this Candyland game. All right, yellow. Yellow draws a double blue. Not only busting out of jail, but closing the distance. Now, I think like last time we played Candyland, let's make this clear. You are not supposed to have to end this by exact count. The idea was any color, because the colors just repeat. So any color between yellow and blue would advance me past this green to home sweet home to the winning position. However, the last time we played, and I think this is the more exciting way, is now in order to win, yellow has to get a green. That's how I see it, is the way that we should have this, just to try to make it interesting here. So here we go. Green gets a blue, advances 3 spaces. Blue draws a purple, advances 3 spaces. All right, red. Big red redemption. That just sounds weird. That sounds like bubblegum. Like bad. Like, okay. Red draws the peppermint stick forest. Red is in 4th place. All right, yellow, are you winning on this one? Are you winning? Yellow draws a green, right? Doesn't even get held up. Look at that. Champion status. Team Yellow, way to go. That was a hell of a win. That was nuts. That was a good run, Yellow. I am impressed. I am impressed. Team Yellow, you showed amazing moxie throughout that entire contest. Way to go. Way to go. All right. We've done some other marathons. If you want to see me play more Candyland, I got videos of playing Candyland. We're focusing on a lot of, I put it off for too long in this, and I cannot run from Chutes and Ladders any longer. I won't do it. I have to demonstrate some manner of integrity and play Chutes and Ladders. I was trying to avoid it. I don't, the thing is, at least I know if I'm going to suffer, you guys are going to suffer with me. So I appreciate that. But that suffering is nothing compared to what we see children dealing with every day, who are suffering from a wide range of diseases that we are still fighting to find a cure for. And that is why today's live stream is part of Eleanor's Candyland Kids, my ongoing fundraiser that benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Eleanor Abbott invented Candyland in 1948 While staying in a hospital ward, she shared with a number of children in San Diego. She was recovering from polio alongside these children and wanted to give them a sweet little adventure and a nice escape from the doldrum life of the hospital while they were recovering. You'll notice that the original Candyland doesn't take you on any journey towards the magic candy castle, but instead ends in Home Sweet Home, which was the end goal for many of these children who are recovering. So, if you would like to contribute, I would much appreciate it. Check out the button next to this live stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now it's time to get back to some more fun stuff here. All right, so we've played through Canada, and I didn't pack that really nicely. That wasn't. You got to show Candyland some respect. There you go. Candyland deserves respect. There's a good game. There's a solid game. Cootie approves. Cootie. Hello, little Cootie. Yes, little Cootie. Cootie's enjoying the show. I hope you are too. Get Cootie out of the way there just a little bit so Cootie doesn't get hit. All right, here we go. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're going to play Chutes and Ladders. Oh no. Oh, the game pieces are one-sided. And the grid is so much for me. Okay. Oh no. Candyland, no problem. But Chutes and Ladders, that is a bridge too far. All right, and don't knock over my easel. There we go. Look at that. We have that nice presentation. Everybody can still see there. The board somewhat. What can I reach it? Yeah, I can reach it. I can always move it if I have to. Is Cootie in the way? Is Cootie okay? Cootie's okay. Good little Cootie. Okay. So we got Sis, and we got Cowboy Joe, we got Bonnie, and we got Butch. So I'm gonna try to remember Sis, Cowboy Joe, Bonnie, and Butch. Yeah, this is gonna be tough. I need to put like numbers on them or something. This is all I have is their silhouette. This is oh no. Sis, Cowboy Joe, Bonnie, and Butch. Sis, Cowboy Joe, Bonnie, and Butch. Oh, I hope I can keep track of that. This is gonna be rough. All right. Here we go. Oh, how terrible. All right, Sis. Where's Sis going here? Let's spin it for Sis. Sis gets a 3, ends up on something kind of inert here. So where are we going, Cowboy Joe? Ooh, flicking this little brass thing here is a little bit rough. Cowboy Joe lands on 5, pulling ahead of Sis there. Okay. So then we have Bonnie. Bonnie also gets a 5, sharing a spot with Cowboy Joe. Now it's Butch's turn. And Butch, scoring a 3, gets in there with Sis. All right, Sis. Is Sis moving ahead? Sis gets a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She gets to 9 here. Now, this is a good one here. This square shows that Sis was helping patch up somebody who scraped their knee. So she gets to climb the ladder up to 31, where that person brings her a little present there. So Sis did something good and got to move ahead. All right, Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe advances 2. All right, Bonnie. That's right on the line. We'll give it another one. Bonnie also advances 2 and lands there right with Butch. With Cowboy Joe. Now it's Butch's turn. Butch gets a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and actually ends up in the same situation as Sis. So there we go. Okay. So we got, and I'm just making sure I got that right. Yep. So we got Sis going first. Sis gets a 3. So we got 31, 32, 33, 34. Okay, that doesn't take her up anywhere. All right, Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe gets a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. It's kind of weird how you go across. The way the grid is written on this, I can see where it's a little bit confusing. All right, Bonnie. Bonnie gets a 1 and advances 1. Who's confident that they've picked the winning character so far? Butch, here we go. Butch gets a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and pulls into the lead. I love how chunky these are, though. Like these feel really nice. I like the player movements. Sis. Sis advances 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And no bonus there. Cowboy Joe. That's we're gonna there we go. Here we go. 5. Okay, Cowboy Joe gets a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's just not getting any ladders today. All right, Bonnie. Bonnie gets a 2. And Butch. Butch gets a 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's at the result of a ladder, but not at the beginning. All right, Sis, let's lead it off. 1, 2. Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe going 1, 2, 3 to space number 20. Still not getting any ladders or anything. That's a rough one. All right, Bonnie. Bonnie advances 1. Oh, poor Bonnie. All right, Butch. Butch advances 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't get any bonuses yet, but now pulls into the lead. So, Sis, let's see it. Oh, 1, 2, 3. So, Sis ends up on square 44. All right. Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe gets a 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, he ends up at the result of a shoot, but doesn't get any benefits there. All right, Bonnie. That's a 2. That's 1, 2 on space 13. Bonnie could really use a break on this one here. Butch, are you going to give her some luck? How's Butch doing? Butch advances 1 to 42. The meaning of life. Any Doug Adams fans out there? All right. So we're back at the starting of the rotation. So before we get going, Sis, who started off as first player, is now in second place. Cowboy Joe, who is the second player, is currently in third place. Bonnie, who is the third player, is currently in fourth place. And Butch, who is player 4, is currently in first place. So Butch's good behavior has put him in the lead. Now it's time to start off here with Sis. Geez, I keep getting it right on the line. That one's on the pony. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So she does pull ahead. Let's go Cowboy Joe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Bonnie, how's Bonnie doing? Bonnie pulls 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just really lagging behind. That is rough. All right, Butch. Butch pulls a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No bonuses there. All right, here we are. Rotation starts again. Sis leading it off. 1, 2, tying it up for first with Butch. Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe gets 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. At 43, nothing happens. Okay. All right, and then we have Bonnie. Bonnie spins a 3. 1, 2, 3. No bonuses. Poor Bonnie. Butch, are you building that lead? That looks right about at the 5. Okay, I hope that didn't manipulate too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, that really the first ladder was what kind of set Sis and Butch apart from the pack early in the game, and ever since then it's been kind of a crawl. All right, here we go. So we're going back to Sis. Sis gets a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shares a spot with Butch. Cowboy Joe gets a 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, Bonnie. Bonnie gets a 2. 1, 2. No bonuses. Butch, where's it at? Where's it at, Butch? three. One, two, three. Wait a minute. Did we go backwards across this? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm one row up here. Two, three. There he is. I had him slide back one row. That's terrible. That's terrible. This is what I'm saying though. Like you're switching between which direction you're going so fast that this is why I don't like this game so much. All right, because we got reversed. Oh man. All right. So Bonnie's actually not as bad off as she looked. All right, Cowboy Joe. Cowboy Joe's also not doing this bad as he looks. One, two, three, four. Oh man, see that's the problem with having the bigger player pieces on there, and then you have this grid that's very confusing. This is why I was really nervous. Bonnie, here we go. One. That's why I was really having a hard time. Yeah, I got Bonnie going the wrong. What are we even doing? I think I was right to not want to play this backwards. See, this is my problem with Chutes and Ladders. Is it's such a the I'm defeated by Chutes and Ladders. This is the issue with Chutes and Ladders having such a weird, chaotic system. Is you are never quite going the right direction. You're always doubling back. Now, here's actually an advantage. Let me see which version. I think this is the better version right here. So I got a couple different Chutes and Ladders. This one is 2021. Okay. I want to get into this because how confusing. This is where I'm actually going to give credit to the modern design. First off, I'm not a huge fan of the movers myself, but I don't think they're bad. I just don't like that the plastic piece. Here's my issue. I would leave them in the base if it wasn't that the base exceeds the height of the box, so they have to be disassembled each time. That bothers me to no end. I was defeated by Chutes and Ladders. How pathetic is that? Oh my god, I love it. All right, let's look at this modern Chutes and Ladders versus the original 1943. We're gonna move Cootie up here. This is great. This is great. Okay. Now there is one major difference. I'm not a big fan of how much smaller the board got. But one major difference that I really appreciate is they replaced the grid with an actual flow here so you can see the direction that you're moving. So that's one advantage to the modern Chutes and Ladders is you can actually go through, see where your character is supposed to be going, make sure that you're not doubling back. That was like honestly, I especially having it be like a checker pattern like that. I can't believe I actually doubled back so many times while trying to play that. And that's exactly why I let off playing with Candyland and Cootie. Because geez, just look at that. Making sense of the difference between those two boards. 1943, in my opinion, still has like the prettiest art. But when you actually look at functionality and you go to the modern ones where they have the flow, that's your biggest difference right there. Now, what I will say too is just like when we were looking at Cootie, the modern version, or was it Hi Ho Cheerio? The same thing with the spinner. They have that little fin there where your fingernail can actually hit it and not get hurt or damage the art. That's another thing is I'm not a huge fan of the actual brass on here as well. But that's, all that pales in comparison to the actual historical value of the game. One thing that I do think is a drawback, though, is we're looking at the 43 edition, we have 4 characters, but we go to the 2021, we have 3 characters. And you might be wondering why they would make a change considering it's that minor. And that's because, well, as you just witnessed, if you were watching me blunder my way through this one here to the point where I gave up, you're not going to get a whole lot of people actually interested in playing Chutes and Ladders for a super long time because of all the children's games that I have on here today. It seems to be the most maligned, which is hilarious to me because Chutes and Ladders has probably the most interesting history behind it compared to any of these other games. The fact that this dates back so far and can be traced to 13th century India in the form of Machapatam is really fascinating to me. And that's why I actually really appreciate picking up little historical pieces like this 1943 edition from Milton Bradley here. I would like to get a an actual Snakes and Ladders. I have seen some really nice art on some classical Snakes and Ladders sets from the 1800s, and I do think that would be kind of fun to track down. But yeah, this one I don't know if I'm going to be able to try a live play of this again after that embarrassment. Well, it like I said, trying to live play this backwards and then having the backs with the silhouettes and everything. Okay, so that's more embarrassing than my Omega code stuff, the Omega virus stuff that I had to overcome, which I don't know if anybody watching the stream now saw last night, but I went through every difficulty level of the Omega virus because when I first demonstrated the game the night before, I was just kind of hopping between difficulty levels and having some fun. And it occurred to me that it would be kind of fun to actually compare every single difficulty level, starting at the easiest and working my way up. And it was a lot of fun. But it took 15 games in a row, and the last 8 were on the highest difficulty level, the jumpy virus stuff. So definitely check out if you want to see that slog. That one was a lot of fun. I loved the voices. But I will say, when we're looking at a lot of these classic games, one thing that comes to mind is how well they actually translate to a modern version. And I want to start with Cootie right here as an interesting example. So again, we got Cootie, the original Cootie here. This is from 1949. This was originally created by Herb Schopper in Robbinsdale, Minnesota in 1948 while he was whittling himself a fishing lure. And he came up with the idea to make the classic game. Now, you could argue that this is a counting game because you're rolling dice to assemble the cootie, but I don't know. I think that's a bit of a stretch. There's not really any educational benefit that I know of to playing cootie. But I do think that it's a classic example of melding a toy and a game, which that's always been a huge draw for me. So, first off, when we're looking at this one, we have a completely different setup. And I actually am curious. Yeah, here we go. That's right. They printed the rules in this one. Okay. So at the beginning of the game, each player immediately just chooses a cootie bug, and we're only playing for the parts. So that's the biggest difference. That's what I thought. I just wanted to verify. So the biggest difference between the modern edition of Cootie is that you start right away with the head and the body, and then you work your way to getting like the legs and the eyes and the face and all of that fun stuff, which um, I guess that shortens the duration of the game, but if you really think about it, this is kind of one of those where you're meant to play it over and over and over again. Let's have a little fun here. Let's see how long it takes us to build one of these cooties, because this one, the original 1949 cootie, boy, that took us a lot of dice rolls there, little cootie there. I love this little guy. Look at how much smaller he is than the modern cooties. Oh man, look at that. Great great grandpa is quite a bit smaller there. The Cootie is again one of those games that's all about just spending time with people. This is one of those where there's no hard feelings in losing because it's all random chance. They even added, so this is funny. So you can get the antennae, the eyes, the mouth. We no longer have a proboscis, so I can't get in trouble for mispronouncing it. We no longer have a proboscis. Now we have a mouth. We have 2 legs. So you have a 30% chance of getting legs, 15% chance of antenna, eyes, or mouth. Or you got this little guy right here that's wild, and you can use him for anything. So let's just see what we got here. Oh, I got a leg right away. Well, he's orange. I think we can go with some tennis shoes, some green tennis shoes there. And I want to point out that the new Cootie, it might need a little breaking in. One of the issues that I had with this was some of the pieces really fit in. Oh, that's his. There we go. That's his antenna right up on top there. Some of the pieces fit really, really tightly. And that can be a little bit of a bear, especially with the legs. So you might want to help young ones the first time that they're playing this. Well, I'm supposed to get a mouth. Oh, look at that. There is a proboscis like the original one. I'm going to put silly teeth on. Silly teeth like that. There we go. Let's see here. Oh, and I got eyes already, which is awesome. Oh, well, he's got some silly eyes right there. I like how much personality the new cooties have compared to the old cooties. See, but now I got eyes. Now we're running into the same issue that we had with the original is if I don't get a wild, which maybe that's why they added the wild card because boy, I'll tell you what, rolling the die over and over and over again just to get a leg to finish it up was frustrating, but it feels to me like they balanced this out to make it faster going because yeah, I'm already almost done. But you see, there are these little fittings where they clip into the cootie and they clip in easily, but boy, they take a little bit of extra effort to pop out. So for little kids, these will be better after a smaller break-in period so that the plastic can at least be worn in a bit so that it pops in and out of these little cootie figurines easier. And look at him, he's coming together quite nicely. He can almost, yeah, he can stand on his own. There we go. So we only need two more legs. Oh, I got one right there. So one more leg and we've got our cootie. One more leg. Do you think we can get another leg? We got a 50% chance. Nope. There it is. Got our last leg on our cootie there. There we go. There we go. Got a multi-generational cooties here. This was again, what was the year did I say on this one? Was it like a 2021? 2021. Okay. So 2021, 1949. Original versus current. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? And a game that built a company. So yeah, Herb Shaper, he was hand carving himself a fishing lure and he devised the game where you roll dice to assemble the little cootie, and that's what really kicked off. I'm sorry, Shopper. I said Shopper. See, I keep screwing that up. My original review, I said Shaper, but it's Herb Shopper. It's pronounced Shopper. Shopper Manufacturing originated in Robbinsdale, Minnesota, moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's Minnesota family there. But yeah, this game, you can laugh at the simplicity of Cootie all you want, but it launched an entire toy company. They made Don't Spill the Beans, Don't Break the Ice. Ticklebee is one that I thought was absolutely adorable. Very cute little magnet game. Look at that. Look at how much bigger the new Cootie is than the old Cootie. Our Cooties are just going to hang out here for a little while we're looking at some of these. That's fun. That's fun. This is great. Okay, so I will admit so wholeheartedly failing at trying to solo play Chutes and Ladders with the board reversed. I can tell you, I don't think I would have failed at the modern one, but trying to keep track of the track direction on the old one was surprisingly tough. That's one of the reasons why, like, when I'm trying to pick these ones to do exhibition plays, I try to pick something that's relatively easier to keep track of. Like, the advantage to Candyland is it's a really straightforward track. There's no diverging. And this 2025 edition, we just looked at the 55 edition a little bit earlier. I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk it on Hi Ho Cherry. One thing that gets me is they do tell you that there's a story for this. Check out the back of the game rules for the story, which, by the way, the art for the Candyland kids on this is adorable. I love the Candyland kids in the 2025 edition. Little girl's got the gummy bear girl has little gummy bear ears. The lollipop girl has little lollipop buns. The candy cane kid has an actual candy cane. And I kind of take it. I mean, maybe I'm drawing too much from it, but the mint kid has tinted glasses and a candy cane. So I kind of inferred, or at least I like to, that perhaps he's vision impaired. And that kind of adds a layer of sweetness because his favorite candy is what guides him on his adventure. Because that's kind of what the story is in here is the children are playing in the woods and they find themselves in Candyland inexplicably. It's a very Narnia-esque kind of thing. And they meet Queen Frostine, and she encourages them to take the magic bag that they have here and collect all kinds of sweets for her. That's all outlined right here. This is kind of interesting because this is about the same amount of text and story that was available in the 1984 Candyland, which is my favorite. I love how they repurposed the art from the 1984. They just made subtle changes to the characters, just ever so subtle, but they still stayed really on theme. That was something that I thought was fantastic here. But yeah, it just says four imaginative kids were adventuring in the forest when suddenly they arrived in a strange and colorful land. There was a road made of rainbow gummies, cotton candy clouds floated in the sky, and lollipop, lollipop flowers danced in the grass. Then what was it? Plumpy is the first person they meet. There was justice for Plumpy. I want to point out, I've been complaining that ever since the 1984 edition came out, kids were all upset about Plumpy setting them back on their adventure. They removed Plumpy from the game. We finally got Plumpy back. Our guardian of the gingerbread sugar plum forest came back. I love this little vacuum formed organizer that holds the Candyland kids in the 2025 edition, which these figurines are so awesome. It really does. It is a snug fit. You don't want to paint these. I don't know. I could see these looking really cool if you painted them, but there's no point. This vacuum formed organizer kind of reminds me of the one that you get with Hero Quest, the Avalon Hill Hero Quest. I think that's was that 2021 they released it? Beautiful game. Beautiful game. I already liked the 1990 Hero Quest, but the Avalon Hill Hero Quest is so gorgeous. Definitely something that should be on your list there. I would like to review First Light, which is a more budget friendly version of it because the starter system is about $130. Um, but that being said, great game. I have noticed Hasbro has really raised the bar lately when it comes to how they package the games. Pardon me here. Monopoly for 2025 also came with a brilliant vacuum formed package organizer inside. Keeps all the properties and cash and player pieces separated, and it's of like decent weight. You know, that's one of my problems with a lot of vacuum formed stuff. It's all cruddy, cheap, thin plastic that falls apart. Just terrible landfill fodder. And I am so offended when I buy something when the workmanship sucks so much that I know that it was literally just built to be used half-heartedly once and then end up in a landfill. That just bothers me so much. So really, really annoying. But this is not that sort of creation at all. Look at that. Look at how bright and beautiful that board art is. I love it. It's not as long of a trail as what you get in the 1984 edition, not by any means. I like the colors. The colors are a bit lighter, a little bit brighter. The full board is used up in the art now. If you look at like the older editions, there's a lot more empty space. But this one, you have the full board used up, and that's something that I just really love. I like it when there's, but it's also not overstimulating. You know, if you look at the 2010 version, I've had that on the show in the past. That's probably the busiest one I have. I do remember there's an infamous 2016 version. I think it's no 2013. There's an infamous 2013 version where there's so much eye-popping art that it was actually overstimulating for most audiences, and so that was kind of an issue. This one, I think, strikes a nice balance. These are probably the nicest Candyland Kid movers that I've seen in the entire series. They're chunky, they're detailed, they're so cute. Oh, I love it. The art is colorful, inviting. It harkens back to the classic art while bringing it up to a modern standard. It doesn't overstimulate the viewer. One thing I noticed when I was critiquing the 2021 edition, which is, in my opinion, the 2021 edition of Candyland is by far the worst edition of Candyland ever produced. Not only is the quality cheap and cheesy, but the art was really terrible. The board was tiny. The art was terrible to the point where candy pieces were just copy and pasted around the board. It looked so haphazard. And as a flagship franchise for Hasbro, I was absolutely shocked. Now, 2025, we've got a number of changes to the gameplay formula, which has really reinvigorated it. One thing is like I've said before when I was playing the 55 edition, and I've said it on other Candyland critiques, is Candyland's original design was for people with low energy that were feeling ill that just wanted a social interaction. It was meant to be a distraction. And as the game has evolved, a lot of people have critiqued it for not having any strategy involved, no decision making, things like that. But that's kind of antithetical to the point of the game's design. Now, what's interesting is going into 2025, they added the magic bag, which is really nice because instead of drawing from a pile of cards, you draw these cardboard chips out of the bag. So it feels much less like your fate has been set the moment that the deck of cards has been shuffled, and more like you at least have some manner of control in the chance involved, which I thought was really nice. I wish the cardboard tokens were a little bit thicker, but that being said, they're sturdy enough to make it. However, I would advise parents to punch these out before letting your kids play at the game, because we did have some of them tear up even when we were punching them out for the review, and that was just adults putting the game together. So it takes a little bit of a gentle touch. I like how they integrated the bag in the story's lore. As much as I'd really love to read you the whole story's lore, I got to be careful because it's copyright material. But suffice to say, what happens is the kids wander into Candyland and they meet Queen Frostine, who gives them this little magic bag here, and their job is to try to collect little sweet treats on their adventure to the Candy Castle, where then they present them to Queen Frostine before being sent home and told that they can come to Candyland anytime that they want. So that's kind of an interesting deal because when Candyland first was created, Eleanor Abbott designed it just to be a magical escape with no backstory. There's no lore. The kids are just navigating their way through an imaginary world. There are no characters to speak of or anything like that. The game plays really similarly, but there are no characters to speak of. We didn't see characters introduced till 1984, and that's when we added the adventure of the missing King Candy. So the kids find themselves brought to Candyland. They're actually brought to Candyland by the denizens of Candyland to help them find the missing King Candy, who's been kidnapped by Lord Licorice. Which, by the way, somebody commented that they still think Lord Licorice is the king of swag, and I do agree. He's got the big hat, he's got the big walking stick. He looks really cool. He's always, even when he's a villain, everybody likes a good. Luke Skywalker's only as cool as Darth Vader. You know what I'm saying? Kirk is only as cool as Khan. You need to have that foil. The Joker is only as exciting as Batman. Wait, did I? Well, modern movies, never mind. The point is, you need to have that contrast to make it interesting. But I always thought Lord Licorice did a great job. In the 2010 edition, they make him quite dashing too. Him and the Duke of Swirl, who's not featured in this, are both kind of dashing young gentlemen added to the cast there, and I thought that was sort of fun. But in the 1984 edition, the kids are trying to rescue King Candy. Now that story is changed by the time we get to the 2010 edition, and instead the kids are invited to a party at Candy Castle in their honor. Now in this one, the story is much more innocuous, and it's really just about the kids' journey through Candyland, and they have the lovely matriarch here who encourages them to meet everybody in Candyland. Everybody's friendly, so it still has a little bit of an everybody's friendly vibe, but we and takes away from the dire sense of adventure in the first one where they're trying to rescue the king. But it adds some elements, like we have the sweet and sour gummy bears here. Now these gummy bears are actually a non-player character, so the game still plays with four players as traditionally. However, in the 2025 edition, you can add these gummy bears and do a player versus environment game instead. So if you have four kids that maybe don't want to be competitive with each other, there's a rule variant where this is a non-player character that you draw for, and the kids have to try to beat the non-player character to the Candy Castle. So you can play this solo, you can play it player versus player, or you can play it player versus environment. So you have 1 to 4 players playing this game, and there's nothing saying that if you have a fifth kid, you can't just repurpose the PVE sweet and sour gummy bears to being a fifth player. So there's a lot of versatility. Tie that with the fact that There are multiple ways to play with the draw bag. One of the suggested ways is to first off, you have your traditional. You draw a single chip just as you would vanilla Candyland. Vanilla Candyland. Uh, but the other option is to draw two chips, and then the player chooses which one of the chips that they want. And this makes it a little bit of a faster game, but also adds a little bit more touch of control. Now, I've also heard a house rule. I found this fascinating. Somebody played the regular Candyland with their kids, where you draw two cards, but you get to move on for whatever one card it signifies or tells you indicates, but you choose to move one of the other players to what the next card you drew indicates. So it's kind of a risk reward thing. And I found that fascinating, especially if you get more than two players, because then you're deciding who you want to affect. And then you can have some scenarios where there's king making and things of that nature. So I thought that was really interesting. But overall, what I really enjoy about all the changes that they've made is they have managed to tie in the older characters from the franchise in a really wonderful way. They've modernized the art. It's all very clean and crisp and nice. There's a good sense of dimension to it. Each one of the individual kids has their own candy theme, which I think is really nice. I want to say it was one of the early 2000s ones. It might have been 2005. They introduced a version of Candyland that replaced the cards with a spinner, and the children were replaced with actual candy characters. So instead of being children on an adventure, you are either a marshmallow or a chocolate bar or a mint. And so these kids in their little candy motifs are kind of an interesting melding of having Candyland kids and actual candy. So we also had, for instance, in the original game, traditional wooden pawns. Then that changed over into gingerbread man movers, which were explained in the 1984 edition as being proxies for the players. So the very interesting thing was, if you read the story in the 1984 edition, they explained that the character movers being gingerbread men meant that the children that were actually mentioned in the story were commanding the gingerbread men as proxies, and the gingerbread men were helping them find the king. So they had an interesting way of explaining why they didn't change the character movers from the 70s to the 80s. So there's actually a canonical reason for the gingerbread men not changing and thus saving them production costs, transitioning from the 70s where they had no characters but they had gingerbread men movers to the 80s where they had characters and had to still use up their gingerbread movers, because the molding and design is exactly the same as what was in production at that time. So they did a really good job of building the lore around that. But I love the nod to the 2005 Candy Kids by incorporating candy in their design here. I'm going to solo play around because I honestly recuperating from that terrible showing of Chutes and Ladders, which is just, I'm telling you, if you can be 40 years old and play a game from 1943, so like an 80-year-old game, and I'm absolutely jacking it up. It was so hard to keep track of it. This is why I appreciate some of this simplicity. What are the sweet and sour gummy bears? They're starting off with green. So they're advancing right to here. That's a 6 space jump. That's pretty nice. I'm just going to toss this right. Actually, what we can do is just toss it right behind the Candyland game right there. And we'll just keep track. No, I'll use Cootie because it's easier. We can see how many we've gone through. We can see it right there. That'll work. We've got an establishment now. All right. So now we've moved red, yellow, which is Chocolate Kid. Interestingly enough, he's designed to look like a chocolate bar. He wears plaid. He's carrying a big chocolate bar. Chocolate Kid gets to advance one as red there. And Mint Kid, playa. I love him with his sunglasses and his cane there. He got two blue on his draw. So he gets to advance four and then an additional six for a total of 10. So Mint Kid, I mean, I'm just saying, he's got swag. All right, now let's get to the Gummy Bear Girl here. And she draws a double blue two right out of the gate. So Gummy Girl and Mint Kid. There we go. There we go. Got to make sure that I'm throwing these off to the side here. All right. Now let's see what our Lollipop Gal can do. Okay, Lollipop Girl. Double purples, which advances two, and then an additional six for eight. So right now we have Mint Kid and Gummy Girl leading up for first and second. They're actually tied for first. Then we have our Lollipop Girl here who just pulled ahead of the Sweet and Sour Gummy Bears, and then Chocolate Kid pulling up the rear. Now, the goal is, since we have the sweet and sour gummy bears going, is we need to get at least one of the Candyland kids to Candy Castle before the sweet and sour gummy bears beat them. So we live or die as a team. All right, here we go. We got double orange for our sweet and sour gummy bears. So they advance 5 and then an additional 2 right there. They're going to end up taking this path, it looks like. All right, Chocolate Kid. Come on, Chocolate Kid. Everybody's gotten doubles, but Chocolate Kid pulls the ice cream cone. He gets to jump right to the ice cream beach, cutting over half of the map, going from last to first in an upset. Team Yellow, Chocolate Kid. Look at that. Mint Kid, what are you going to do? Do you got some magic in you? Mint Kid gets an orange and moves 1. Let's see if Gummy Girl can do better. Gummy Girl gets a red. She advances ahead of the sweet and sour gummy bears into second place. We ready for this? Here we go, Lollipop Girl. Lollipop Girl drawing a, what is that? That is a red. So she is going to be actually tying it up with Gummy Girl over here. So Chocolate Kid in the last turn in an upset manages to get to the ice cream beach, pulling into first place. Now we have Gummy Girl and Lollipop Girl tied for second. The sweet and sour gummy bear NPC team, these are the guys we're trying to beat. We have to get at least one Candyland kid to Candy Castle before the sweet and sour gummy bears. Okay, we're playing a traditional one-player PvE to see how this goes. They are in third place, and then we have Mint Kid pulling up the rear. I'd really like to see something magic come out of Mint Kid. He's one of my favorite characters. All right, sweet and sour gummy bears leading it off with a yellow advancing 2 spaces. All right, Chocolate Kid, see some magic. Gets a yellow, advances 2 spaces. Mint Kid, come on. Come on, Mint Kid. What do we got? We got some magic. We got 2 reds. So that means he hops over the girls here and again. So he advanced, what is that, 7 spaces. Nice one, Mint Kid. Nice. Okay, here we go. Gummy Girl gets a blue. She advances 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. Her timing on that blue was amazing. Gummy Girl, wow, just busting out. All right, Violet, let's see it. Let's see Lollipop Girl. Lollipop Girl draws a yellow and ties it up with our sweet and sour gummy bears, our non-player characters that are leading us off. All right. Time for our next round here. Sweet and sour gummy bears. Let's see where it is at. Green pulling ahead 3 spaces. It's on now. Let's see if Chocolate Kid can bring it in. Green. Green. There we go. Moving ahead 3 spaces. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens out of Mint Kid. Yellow. Oh, he's just tying it up with the sweet and sour gummy bears. All right, Gummy Girl, our blue gal here, where she got double yellow. That moves her up 6 and then an additional 6. That was a... Gummy Girl is just tearing it up. She's closing the gap on Chocolate Kid here. All right, we have Lollipop Girl here. I was calling her Violet last time we played. She's kind of pink, but she gets a purple. This advances her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. There we go, bringing it in for third place. It's getting interesting. Okay, so as we start our next round, we'll be drawing for the sweet and sour gummy bears. These are our non-player characters. We have to get 1 Candyland kid to Candy Castle before the sweet and sour gummy kids get there. Now, interestingly enough, there's a difficulty variation on the rule where you have to get all 4 of the Candyland kids to the end as well. So that was kind of fun. But we're just trying to get 1 right now just to start. All right, as it stands, Chocolate Kid is in the lead, followed by Gummy Girl, and then we've got Lollipop Girl following up in 3rd place, and tied for 4th is Mint Kid and the Sweet and Sour Gummy Bears. Here we go. Where are the Sweet and Sour Gummy Bears going today? Orange moves them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces up. We still have a pretty good lead on them here. Let's see what Chocolate Kid gets. It's still anybody's race. You can get pulled away. Green puts him 6 spaces ahead. There we go. All right, Mint Kid. I want to see some magic, Mint. Come on. Blue. That's one. Let's see here. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces, just pulling up behind the sweet and sour gummy bears. All right, Blue. Let's see it, Gummy Girl. Let's see it, Gummy Girl. Gummy Girl gets a double. That was a pull. Just the first one alone is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces. Then she's got a double. So she got an additional 7 spaces up here. Gummy Girl advances 16 spaces in one pull, closing the gap on Chocolate Kid. This is getting gnarly here. Okay. All right. Lollipop Girl. Let's see it. Let's see it, Lollipop Girl. I want to see you come out of last place. She gets a gummy and it pulls her ahead into third. She gets the gummy bear and gets to advance right here. Doesn't get the Gummy Mountain Pass, but it's a good jump. Nice round. Okay. It's still anybody's game. There are still drawbacks to be had. The only candies that have been drawn so far are ice cream and the gummies, which means that we still have the licorice and the lollipop and the mint still in play. So we can have somebody steal lead and we can have people getting pulled back behind. So this is going to be interesting here. All right, let's go sweet and sour gummy bears. Gummy bears pull licorice. So licorice is out and it is a massive setback here. So that was the biggest setback a player could have pulled out of the current bag. Getting a little closer to victory here. All right, Chocolate Kid. Chocolate Kid gets a double yellow for 1, 2, 3 on the first one, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 10. That was a good pull, Team Yellow Chocolate Kid. All right, Green. Who's rooting for Mint Kid? Do we have any Mint Kid fans out there? I'm a big fan of Mint Kid. He's cool. What is this? We got red. Oh, geez. Sometimes when I got the light coming at me and I'm looking at the back of the card. All right, so that advances 3. There we go. All right, well, Gummy Girl still has a chance to close this gap. I'm interested to see this. Gummy Girl advances 5. Okay. Modest pull, but okay, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. See, the thing is, they actually did end this one with a multicolored pad. So there's no trying to get the exact one out of this. All right, and Lollipop Girl. Lollipop Girl pulls a purple that only advances her 1. That's rough. I love her little hair buns. They remind me of Princess Leia from Star Wars. That's so fun. That's so fun. Okay, here we go. Sweet and sour gummy bears. Pull 2 oranges. That advances them 6 right here, and then an additional 7 for 13. Okay, there we go. The gummy bears get to jump back ahead a little bit. Only seems fair. Chocolate Kid, you ready? Team Yellow? 2 purples. That's it. That's game. First purple advances 5, and the next one is to the Universal at Candy Castle. There it is. And we still had tiles to spare. Our kids made their whole adventure and delivered all their sweet treats to Queen Frostine. That's great. I'm telling you, the changes they made to the 2025 edition, I'm so pleased with, because I don't think that it hurt the formula at all of classic Candyland. I think that they did a great job bringing the old characters forward in such a way that they both look modern in the art style, while at the same time enough like the original that it doesn't feel like they really tried to wreck or reinvent the series. The kids being themed like their favorite candy is so awesome. I love that. I love the kids being themed like this. This is so cool. This is so cool. Okay, so I guess we've kind of looked at a lot of the the modern ones so far and the originals today, the 55 Candyland, gameplay wise, even though you don't have as much, um, it's kind of tough to say. You don't really have too much control over either one of them. It's interesting because drawing your chips out of the sack for the 2025 gives you that a little bit of a sense of control over what you're doing, um, a little bit more sense of control on your destiny, but at the same time, it's still very, very random. Still very random. So kind of tough to determine which one I really think is the best in that regard. But I actually really like the gameplay sessions in the 55 because they can get wild, especially with 4 players. I kind of want to. I'm gonna bust out the 84. I wasn't gonna, but I'm enjoying myself. I'm gonna bust out the 84 and just kind of have a run on the 1984 Candyland since we got a bunch of them here. I mean, I put it up more so for ambiance, but I mean, twist my arm. Oh, now it's almost a puzzle unto itself, trying to remember which characters went where in this little vacuformed package here. I want to try to keep everything as nice as I can. There we go. There's a chocolate kid. There's our mint kid. I can tell that one. And that makes Gummy Girl. Oh, seriously, check out my review of Candyland for the 2025 edition. I've got a Oh boy, I think the link in the description might not have that. That might have my older one. Um, but I do have a review for the 2025. Um, the detail on these figurines is just absolutely insanely nice. I really like it. It's not, I mean, I wouldn't even say they're hyper detailed. Well, you got decent fur on the bears and everything. It's so pretty. I like it. I enjoy what they did with Candyland. I gotta say, like, normally over the last year where I've been in particular reviewing a lot of board games. I gotta say, I've reviewed quite a few where Hasbro dropped the ball. I don't like to get too negative on a lot of my reviews, but there were some where there was just not a whole lot of defending some of the design decisions, and I really felt like they were cutting costs so much that it was a detriment to the game. That being said, I'm going to be honest. I'm not making any commission from Hasbro or anything. Every single game that you see on display today in this live stream, I purchased. I either found and reconditioned an old one or I bought a new one off the shelf. So when I say that I actually really think that Hasbro came a long way in what they were doing with one of these games, I really mean it. Like, I'm backing it with my own dollar. And for instance, I just pulled some of my least favorites here. Like, this is the grossest version of Candyland 2021. 4 years ago, they made this ugly thing. We're not opening it. We're not opening that. We're doing the nice one. We're doing my childhood favorite, the 1984 Candyland. The 2021 can just wait. Possibly be ignored. I don't know. They had a bunch of merch tie-ins too with the 2021, which I still have to do some review videos on because they had like the Candyland Candy Factory, the Candyland Cake Pop Maker. So Mrs. Old Crappy Couch had a really brilliant idea. I actually really liked her idea. She had found a Candyland cookbook and was going to try the recipes and rate them. But the problem was half the recipes, like the pictures, were clearly AI in the book. Like, before the big AI boom, they were clearly like fake, and looked nonsensical. And some of the recipes are just downright, like, if you have any knowledge of food whatsoever, and trust me, like, I got knowledge, you're going to look at that and you're going to go, there's no way that recipe works. And even then, your fillings are going to scream when you read that recipe. Just, it's nuts. But what was funny was we were doing product testing ahead of having the review videos, and the product testing went so poorly that we had to take a break for a bit and figure out how we were going to reassess doing it, because like the cake pop maker was just a simple cake pop mold. that really did a bad job of making cake pops. Like we were desperate to figure out how it was supposed to work because even following the instructions made no sense. There was a candy machine that we got that I'll be reviewing where it's actually just like a press. You have little shaped dies for the candy shape, and you're supposed to crush up other candy, put it in, and squish it together. Kind of like that little game kids play when they get like starbursts and make their own combinations and stuff, except for on an industrial scale. And this thing was really tough to clean. We tried it. We got a couple of the suggested recipes to work, but it's kind of dumb. It's like squish graham cracker and chocolate chip and marshmallow together and get a s'more. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. Just pressing them together like it's a hydraulic press doesn't do it. All right. So 1984. Candyland was originally created in 1948 and published in 1949, featuring over 200 spaces for kids to follow, no story to speak of, and simple landmarks. Now, by the time we moved to 1985, spaces were reduced in the 60s from over 200 to 160, and then I think again to around 140. I'll have to go and recount. However, that being said, in 1984, this was the first Candyland ever produced by Milton Bradley after it had been purchased by Hasbro. Hasbro continued to publish games under Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers branding after having bought both in 1984. They continued to produce games under that branding for decades later, slowly adjusting them all under the Hasbro Games umbrella. Now, in 1984, when we saw this edition of Candyland, we also saw the addition of a backstory and game lore. Essentially, the Candyland kids are recruited to guide these gingerbread men through Candyland in an attempt to locate the missing King Candy and return him to the Candy Castle at the end of the trail. However, they have to be careful as Lord Licorice is highly suspect of having kidnapped King Candy, and Plumpy and Gloppy, Plumpy, the guardian of the gingerbread sugar plum forest, it's a mouthful, and Gloppy, who guards the molasses swamp, are both just basically complacent. So they're not necessarily villains, but they can draw you back. Gloppy causing you to get stuck in the swamp and having to draw a red card to get out. And Plumpy, if you draw a sugar plum, you pulls you all the way back to the gingerbread sugar plum forest. Lord Licorice also has a few interesting little spots where you can get stuck, but for the most part, the idea is you have to make your way through the land and meet all of these cute little characters. Like, for instance, instead of having the crooked little peanut brittle house like we saw in the 1955 edition, now we have Grandma Nut at the peanut brittle house. It's no longer crooked. She keeps it on the level. We also at the Peppermint Forest now we have Mr. Mint, the guardian of the Peppermint Forest. He's really cool. The Gumdrop Pass is now guarded by Jolly. He's the little gumdrop creature here. We have Princess Lolly. I always loved the lollipop forest here. The art is just beautiful, and Princess Lolly was always a delight. Queen Frostine presides over the ice cream sea here, and then we have King Candy up front. The kids have kind of vanilla art, and I thought it was sort of funny that they used the gingerbread men as proxies. Even just canonically in how the story is written, is the kids actually, strictly speaking, the kids don't go on the adventure. They guide the gingerbread men through Candyland on their adventure. Which again, I think was just to recycle the gingerbread man movers, which had been introduced in the 70s. I'm willing to bet that during the acquisition of Milton Bradley by Hasbro, they also got a lot of game components from the respective manufacturers that Milton Bradley was using. So it's pretty obvious a lot of that was repurposed, but 1984 is a fascinating year for a lot of board games. Some of my favorites came out of 84 when you really see a change in direction. Milton Bradley wasn't necessarily struggling or anything like that, but you can definitely see that Hasbro wanted to reinvigorate some brands and shake a few things up. So a fascinating era. The 80s were really kind of like I would say the 80s were kind of like a second uh, coming of the 1960s plastic boom in games. So like they consider the golden age of board games to be somewheres around the 1930s when we started seeing Monopoly and Scrabble and a lot of other games start to come out. 30s to about 50s where the print process and the taping process for these boards became cheaper and easier, and components were easier to produce. So that's considered like the golden age. And then when we got into the 60s, we start seeing a boom where toys and games start to really meld. We see things like Marvin Glass Industries really blowing up with games like Mousetrap, Crazy Clock. Marvin Glass was behind Operation. There's an interesting story. He purchased the design from a student who was an engineering student at the University of Illinois for $500 and the promise of a job, then never gave the guy a job. So there's some interesting history and dirty dealings behind the rise of heavily plastic reliant games like Mousetrap, Crazy Clock, Operation, Bed Bugs, that kind of thing. We saw a boom of those through the 60s, and then it kind of petered in the 70s. We saw a bit of it, but then it really came back in force in the 80s, particularly in the form of a lot of like vacuform game boards, a la Fireball Island. But the 80s through the 90s saw a huge push again in board games that melded toy and game. And so it's really fascinating as you have a golden age of board games where at first it's just having the print processes. And then the second big boom had to do with having the ability to make all kinds of figurines and interactive game environments. And now, arguably, we're in another really interesting modern era of games because production is so easy. People can 3D print at home, print processes are easier than ever. And we're actually seeing kind of an interesting bubble pop in that so much game production was outsourced overseas for things like components that now when we see geopolitical action like tariffs take effect, it has an entire effect on the industry, which is fascinating stuff. But again, all these changes in game style, what types of games were popular at a given time, it's all very interesting stuff that I love. I love to look into. This is why I get into this. All right, so we're gonna just go ahead and run 1984's Candyland just because I want to. I don't know. I like the art. This makes me feel good. We're gonna start with red and go through the rainbow here. Just have a good old time. All right, here we go. Red starting off with orange here, advancing 5 spaces. That actually takes us right to the Rainbow Trail. That cuts off almost a third of the map. That was one of the luckiest draws we could have gotten for red team. I'm rooting for red team because it matches my channel logo color, so I'm cool with it. All right, yellow draws Plumpy, which would normally be a big drawback, but actually advances them 9 spaces on their first draw to the Gingerbread Sugar Plum Forest. Now that's a nice pull. All right, green. Oh, green drew blue, which advances 4 spaces. That's pretty good because the last game that we played with green advanced only 1 space right away. Blue gets Princess Lolly right out of the gate. Wow, we had 2 really good pulls. That cuts out like 2/3 of the team blue. Team blue coming up. I got somebody who's regularly in my comments. He's always after Team Blue, and I hope they're watching. All right, Team Blue in an upset cuts the vast majority of the track. All right. Red, let's see if we can make this up. Red draws a red and moves forward 5 spaces there. Not a little bit of a lackluster performance. Yellow, let's see some magic. Yellow draws yellow, as is the style, and advances 1. What is with yellow always drawing yellow when the yellow team's going to move 1 from draw? It just kills me. That's how it was last time we played too. Green draws a purple and advances 4 spaces. There we go. All right, blue. Let's see. Blue can still get drawn back to like Jolly or the Peppermint Forest. Not that I'm wishing any ill on blue, but blue advances 3 spaces for drawing blue. Staying on brand there, blue. All right, red. Red draws a double blue, advancing first 3 spaces and then an additional 6 for 9 spaces. Not bad. Closing. It's actually because red got that big shortcut, it's actually closer than it looks. All right, yellow. Yellow gets a double red, advancing 4 and then an additional 7. Very nice. An 11 space jump. Green. Are we ready, green? Oh, shoot. I drew 2 and I saw what was underneath and I realized that I want to keep this random. There we go. There we go. All right. Green, here we go. Green draws a red. That was actually a really good pull. That advances 8 spaces right there. Not bad. Green has really been getting the short end of the stick. I'm hoping maybe I just helped him out a little bit. Blue draws a blue and advances. Blue's last 2 draws were blue. Advances 7 spaces. She's very on brand. I'm blue. Sorry. All right. Is it 2006 in here? Okay. It's oh god, that's even earlier than that. I don't even want to think about when that song came out. All right, red. Red draws a blue, advances past the peanut brittle house. Yellow. Yellow draws a green and advances 5 spaces. Team green. Team green draws a double yellow, advances 1, and then an additional 7 for a total of 8. There's really just quite a spread here, isn't there? All right, team blue. Team blue draws a yellow, advancing 5. All right, here we go. So we got blue in first place. Now there's still anybody's game here. We still have the Peppermint Forest in play. We still have Jolly in play. Um, I gotta double check. I think we still have Queen Frostine in play too. So we have the opportunity for people to get pulled forward. Red gets a green here. All right. Advances 2 spaces. Yellow, team yellow. Team yellow gets Mr. Mint and gets dropped back to the Peppermint Forest. Ouch, 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 ouch. Team green. Team green draws a double yellow, advances first 6 spaces, and then an additional 6 for a 12-space leap. Not bad, green. That was a pretty good one. You're at least getting some good pulls here. All right, blue. Blue draws a yellow, advances 6 spaces, closing that gap. I think we're going to do the exact color pull rule since this one ends on purple. So we're going to make this a toughie. All right, red. Are we ready to go, red? Red draws a purple, advances 2. All right, yellow. Team yellow, here it is. Team yellow draws a green, advances 2. All right, team green. The green machine is coming back in a big way. I'm rooting for you. Here we go. Trust in the heart of the cards. Team green draws a green, very fashionable, moves forward 3. All right, blue. Is it your time, blue? Is it your time? Blue draws a red and gets stuck in the molasses swamp. So in order for blue to advance, blue needs to draw another red. All right, so it's still really anybody's game here. All right, red, where are we at? Team red draws a green, advances 4. Team yellow, you're going to make some magic happen. Team yellow draws a double green. That was a hell of a pull there. Advances 6 and then an additional 6 for 12. Closing that up. Oh, almost put that on the wrong pile there. Closing it up. All right, team green. Team green pulls a yellow and advances 3 spaces. And team blue, let's see if you can get out. Team blue, you going to get an escape plan here? Team blue pulls a jolly, does not escape. They're stuck. So jolly is out of play, which jolly would generally be a drawback for I mean, it would draw yellow forward a little bit, but for most everybody else at this point on, so not so bad. The back half of the board, I think, is clear now. So we still have some opportunity for upsets. All right, red. Red gets a double orange, advancing first 5 spaces and then an additional 7 for 12 spaces. Team red closing that distance on blue. It's still anybody's game. Team yellow draws an orange, advancing 5 spaces. Team green, we ready the green machine? Let's see some magic. Team green draws a purple, advancing 6 spaces. All right, team blue, here we go. Team blue getting out of jail. Team blue gets out of jail, draws a red, advances 6 spaces. It's on now. It is on now. Team red, are we ready? Team red? Team red pulling a purple and moving 3 spaces ahead. I'm feeling it. I'm getting excited. I want to see where this goes here. This is still anybody's game. Team yellow, are we ready? We got an upset coming. I know it. Team yellow gets a double red, advances 2, and then an additional 7 for 9. Team green. You going to give me some traction here? Let's get a little motion, Team Green. Double blue. First advancing 2, and then an additional 6 for a total of 8. Nice work, green team. Okay. Team blue. Here we go. Team blue draws a green, closing in. Now, we're going to have to get, we're playing on hard rules here. So, Team blue has to draw a purple to win this game, okay? You got to win you got to get a purple. This is going to get real brutal here. All right, Team red closing that distance gets a yellow and moves ahead 2. Now, Team yellow, here we are, Team yellow. Team yellow draws a red and advances 6 spaces. Team green, are we ready for green, the green machine? Green advances, draws orange, a double orange, advances 1, and then an additional 6. Ouch. That could have, you got a lucky card at an unlucky time. That's the rough thing about that, Team green. You didn't do anything wrong there. Just the Candyland came down on you a little bit much. I feel for you. I do. All right, Team blue. Team blue draws an orange, does not go anywhere. You are non-ambulatory. Okay. You're not injured, so I shouldn't. All right. Team red, here we go. Team red draws a double purple. This is big. Advances 5 and then an additional 6 for 11. Nice. Okay. Team yellow. Team yellow draws yellow, advances 2. There we go. Team green. Team green, the green machine draws orange. That's 3. If you count the other double one, that's 3 oranges in a row. So you advance another 6. All right, blue, is this it? Are you going to bring it home, Team blue, with a purple? Are we doing it? Double green. Oh, pearls before swine, as Team blue cannot use it. That would have been a powerful card. All right, Team red. We're closing this gap, Team red. Team red draws an orange, advancing 3. I want my victory, Team red. I want my victory. All right, Team yellow. Team yellow draws a blue and advances 1. Poor Team yellow. Team yellow is just having this time around, Team yellow is having a hard time. Team green. Team green, we got a blue here. Team green advancing 5. Okay, not bad. It's adequate, I guess. All right. Team blue gets a purple. I was so not ready for that. I pulled it. I can't believe it. How dramatic. That's what they needed to. I should have done a better build-up for that. How anticlimactic. How did I ruin the game? Team blue, the champion. Where are my fans of Team blue at? I always have strong backing for Team blue. Okay. So in the 1984, we had Team blue winning today. I don't know. I almost want a rematch of that. I like this art. I like the art on this. That's what really is doing it for me. The 2025 is gorgeous, and this one, it's funny. It was when I was comparing this to the 2025. I keep thinking that the 2025 fills in the space more than the 1984, but it really doesn't. There's just some light color fades. Gotta adjust my seat cushion here. There we go. There's some light color fades right by the track and everything that make it look more open, but it's really not. Every bit of real estate on this board is actually really being used quite nicely. And I do so love I will say, Lord Licorice, he looks more like he's got I don't know how to put this. He's got much more of a villain feel to him here, which he's supposed to be the villain, than he does in any of the other versions that I've had. He looks a little bit softer and more suave and handsome in the others. This one, he straight up has that handlebar mustache. I wish I would have seen him twirl it. I guess we can criticize, but not so much. He still gave us so much. Still gave us so much with this. I still laugh at how generic the kids look. In this one, they don't look nearly at the starting point. The little kids don't look nearly as exciting as they do in the 40s and 50s editions. They kind of look copy paste, like they're the exact same character, just one of them has a ponytail. Which, I mean, the children are supposed to be proxies for you to imagine yourself in their shoes. So I get that. I get that to a degree. Gonna try to get a nice shuffle in here. You can't run cards like this through a shuffler, and you can't bridge them or do anything crazy. Gotta be gentle. The one from the 55, the deck of cards in the 1955 edition, the cards are very, very sturdy, very, very thick. If you saw earlier when I was playing, you have like twice as many of them. So they can be kind of a bear to shuffle. I would say the one upgrade that I would love to make to something like this is I would like to make a separate set of these printed on plastic substrate as opposed to cardboard, just to get that extra little bit of durability and the ability to clean them up. Okay, here we go. We got our 1949 cootie, our 2021 cootie, attending the 1984 Candyland playthrough here. What a what a great little moment to have on a nice rainy day, right? Oh, I'm thirsty there. All right, here we go. We're ready for a fresh game on the 1984 Candyland. You know, this lovely art. Such a big fan. Got our gingerbread movers here. Got a freshly shuffled deck. Are you ready? I'm ready. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Here we go. Red team, let's lead it off with a green advancing 6 spaces. Nice, nice, nice. Yellow team, let's see it. Yellow team also gets a look at that. Yellow team also got a green advancing 6 spaces, tying it up for first place there. Okay, green team. Green team gets a purple, which advances them 2 spaces. Blue team, let's see this upset. Let's see this upset. Blue, it is an upset. Blue team gets an orange, which puts blue team right here. Hey, thank you very much, Awesome Tronic. Thank you very much for throwing in on Eleanor's Candyland Kids, the ongoing fundraiser that I have right now benefiting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. You're living proof that not all heroes wear capes. All right, so blue had a massive upset here. Drawing orange puts them right on the rainbow trail and jumps them right here, almost a third of the map getting skipped. They go right past the Licorice Castle. So Team Blue again might clinch this. So here we go. Team Blue has already won one round of the 84 Candyland, and they are set up for another victory, but it's still anybody's game. Team Red, here we go. Team Red gets a yellow and advances 4 spaces. Very nice. Very nice, Team Red. All right, Team Yellow, here we go. Team Yellow draws a double yellow that advances 4 spaces and an additional 6 for 10. Team Yellow bringing it up. All right, Team Green. Team Green, you've had a hard time. You've had a hard time the last several games we've played. I don't know what's wrong, but I want your luck to change. I want your luck to change. Team Green draws green. It's very fashionable, moves ahead 4 spaces. I want better luck for you than that, Team Green. I want better luck. Team Blue, where are we at? Team Blue, you're wearing a cape? You're wearing a blue cape? You got like a reverse Superman uniform on right now? Are you wearing a red unitard with a blue cape? Is that how you go? Okay. Team Blue, here it is. Team Blue draws Grandma Nut. Oh, it's not as big of an advance, but it's a pretty big one. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a tough jump. 16 spaces in one. So Team Blue, this is big news for Team Blue. Team Blue has drawn twice. The first time they got to skip a third of the board, and the second time they got to go right to the peanut brittle house. Team Blue just tearing it up. Let's see if Team Red can bring this in. Team Red, here we go. 4 spaces. Modest, but okay. Yellow. Team Yellow gets a double blue, advances 1 and then an additional 7 for 8 there. So Team Yellow in second place. Team Green, you're in fourth. Let's see where you go with this. Team Green draws green. Very fashionable. advances 7 spaces right up behind Team Red. Team Blue, here we go. Third draw of the game for Team Blue. Draws a yellow, gets 4 spaces. That's okay. So for once, you didn't get a shortcut or a jump to a location, Team Blue. So look at this. Team Blue is over half a map ahead. Oh man, brutality, the brutality. All right, Team Red, let's see some magic. Not feeling any magic today. 5 spaces. All right, Team Yellow. Team Yellow, you've been impressing me so far. Let's see what you got in you. Team Yellow gets green, moves 2 spaces. Okay, okay. I mean, maybe I put too much social pressure on you, made you nervous. Sorry, Team Yellow. Team Green, I do see great things in your future, like an orange, which happens to advance you up to Team Red. All right, so blue is in the lead. Team Yellow is in second place, and Team Green and Red are tied for third place. All right, and blue. This is that was Green's poll, so it's Blue's poll now. Team Blue, are we ready for this? Team Blue pulls Plumpy. Team Blue gets drawn all the way back to the gingerbread sugar plum forest after having a commanding lead. For the first portion of the game, Team Blue is pulled back in an upset. It's still anybody's game, but now the biggest drawback in the game has been taken out of the deck. So from here on out, and so Peanut Brittle and the Sugar Plum have been taken out of the deck. We still have Queen Frostine, Princess Lolly. It's all about them reflexes. It's what old Jack Burton says. Jack Burton, Big Trouble in Little China. I would have said me, but that's a little too on the nose. Stay. Okay. Oh man, this is okay. Okay, it's still anybody's game. Like I said, here we go. Here we go. Red leading it off. Red gets a blue and advances 5 spaces. Team Yellow now trying to build that lead. Team Yellow in first after that massive upset. Team Yellow draws a double orange, advancing 5 and then an additional 6 for 11. That was a good pull. Nice pull, Team Yellow. Team Green, can you match that energy? Not quite, but we got a yellow. It moved us ahead 4 spaces. There are worse fates. You could end up like blue right now. Let's see if blue can make up some ground. Blue draws a blue and gets ahead 2. Blue draws a blue, gets ahead 2. See, I rhymed and I didn't even mean it. I left that one there for you. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. Team Red. There it is. Blue. Okay. Team Red draws blue 6. Team Red. There it is. Blue. Okay. Team Yellow. Where do we got? Team Yellow draws yellow. Very fashionable. Very on brand. Moves ahead 4. They're not trying to annihilate the competition. They want us to still feel like we're doing well. That's nice. Green, Team Green, the green machine draws a purple and advances 5 spaces. Nice, not bad, Green. Tying it. This is a closer game than I initially thought. I thought blue was going to have an absolute blowout on us. Let's see what blue does. Blue draws a purple and advances 4. Okay, so now I should have counted the rounds on here, but going into the next round, yellow is in the lead, followed by red, closely followed by third place green, and blue in fourth place, bringing up the tail here. That is a rough round. Oh, poor blue. I was really expecting great things for you. I was really expecting great things. Blue still is it's still anybody's game. We have a lot of spots to go. Okay, here we go. Red starting the rotation again. Red draws a red, moves ahead 3. All right, yellow. Here we go. Team Yellow drawing an orange, moves ahead 3. All right, Team Green. Team Green, here we go. Green, the green machine draws a double green, asserting dominance, moving ahead 4, and then an additional 6 for a total of 10. Nice pull. Team Green moving in a second position there. Team Blue, are we going to recover? Team Blue is working on that recovery with 4 spaces advanced. There we go. Red, time for the rotation. So now in this current rotation, yellow is in first place, followed by green, red, and then blue. The biggest gap is between red and blue. So far, everybody's within about 4 or 5 spaces between each other. So it's still a very interesting race. Team Red draws a yellow, advances 2. Not as much help as we were hoping for. Team Yellow. Team Yellow draws a double orange. That advances 6 spaces and then an additional 6 for 12 spaces. Yellow just building that lead. Green. Green draws the Jolly Gumdrop, which would have been a great help a few moves ago. It advances green 5 spaces at this point. That's kind of like when blue drew the peanut brittle earlier. It was nice, but kind of a waste. At least it moved green ahead. Let's see where blue's sitting. Blue, here we go. Blue, we got a yellow advancing 4. Okay, Team Blue. Oh, I almost put that in the wrong pile there. Almost caught myself. Who cheats at Candyland? That'd be just preposterous. All right, here we go. Red. Red team draws a red, advances 4 spaces. Not bad. Yellow team. Yellow team draws a double yellow. There we go. Advances 4 spaces and then an additional 6. A nice 10 space jump. Yellow just building that lead. That is insane. All right, green. What do we got, green? Green, you poor team. You got pulled back to the peppermint forest with Mr. Mint. Okay, but we now know that Plumpy's Sugar Plum is out of play. Grandma Nut's Peanut Brittle is out of play. Jolly's Gumdrop is out of play, and now Mr. Mint's Peppermint Stick is out of play. That sounded dirty. But we still have Princess Lolly and Queen Frostine. So the only 2 foods, or the only 2 candies left in the deck, will be advancements for anybody who draws them, and all the drawbacks are out. Now that's until we shuffle again, which we're already at the halfway point, so we're definitely going to have to shuffle again, I'm sure. Blue, where are you going? Team Blue, are we ready, Team Blue? Team Blue draws a double purple, which is that is a huge upset. Team Blue, check this out. So you move 5 spaces to this first purple. The second purple is 6 spaces here, and it's at the base of the Gumdrop Pass, allowing you to advance across into second place. Team Blue bringing it back. Nice draw. Nice draw. So as we end that round, yellow is in the lead up here by the Peanut Brittle House. Blue has now passed the Gumdrop Pass in a second place. Red holding up third by the Gumdrop Mountains, and green stuck back at the Peppermint Forest in 4th place. Here we go. Red draws a purple. And advances only 1. Ouch. Yellow. Let's see yellow. Yellow draws a red and advances 4 spaces. All right. Too fast, too furious. What you gonna do? Act a fool. Okay, sorry. Little Luda. Okay, here we go. Green, the green machine. 2 reds. That's actually not bad. Advances 3 and then an additional 6 for 9. That was a pretty decent pull. Hold on here. Blue. Let's complete Blue's turn for this rotation. Blue gets a double blue. That's not bad. They skip the sticky spot here, the gooey gumdrops, for 2 and then an additional 6. All right. There we go. So on this rotation, yellow is still up here by the Peanut Brittle House. Blue is now past the Licorice Castle. Red is down by the Gumdrops, and green is at the base of the Lord Licorice's domain. Pulling up 4th. So blue has a serious shot of taking it here. This is the energy and enthusiasm that I like to see. All right. Thank you, Awesometronic. All right. Red. Let's go. Let's start on this rotation. Red draws a blue, advances 2 spaces. Not what I was hoping to see. I would really like to see red make up some ground. Yellow. Yellow draws a red. Not a bad draw, though. Advances 7 spaces. Benefited from the peanut brittle space right there. Green. Green draws a purple, advances only one space. Poor green, man. Green is just getting beat. I'm waiting for green to have their day. Green's gonna sneak up on us. All right, blue. Blue draws a blue, very on brand for blue, and moves 6. I'm blue. All right. Red. Red. Red gets a double purple. Nice. Advancing 5 and then an additional 6 for 11. That was a good run. That was a good run. Okay, here we go. Yellow. Yellow drawing a blue and advancing 3. Not bad. Not bad. Green. Green. Here we go. The green machine. Green goes blue 2 spaces ahead. Poor green. I want more for green. I can't show favoritism here. I mean, obviously I favor red because I'm rooting for red, but I can't show favoritism, but I want to. Or I just sometimes they just deserve it. Okay. Blue. We ready for this blue? Blue is just dying to know where blue's going. Blue draws Princess Lolly. Blue ends up in the lollipop forest, taking first place with a massive margin. Now, keep in mind, Queen Frostine's Ice Cream Sea is still in play, but we have now removed all but one candy from the remaining stack. So if anybody draws ice cream, they still have the chance to pull ahead of blue. But right now, blue takes a commanding lead. What a comeback! What a comeback story from all the way up here, knocked back by Plumpy and then pulled forward by Princess Lolly. That's a Cinderella story if I've ever seen one. Jeez, Team Blue. Team Blue's got all the luck today. Let's see if Team Red can steal some of that. Team Red gets a double green, moves 4, and then an additional 6. Team Yellow, we're going to close that gap. Team Yellow gets a green, doesn't close the gap very far. Team Green. Team Green draws, that's actually not a bad pull, Green. Advances 4 spaces to the base of the gumdrop pass and gets to take advantage of the shortcut. So at least Green's not like completely eating everybody's dust. Kind of. But, all right. You know what time it is, Blue. What do we got? Orange. Okay. I wanted to make that all dramatic. Well, I mean, you dramatically advance 4 spaces. All right. Let's see here. It is okay. It is okay. It's adequate. It's I don't have any complaints. It's a good move. Okay. Red. Red draws a yellow, advances 3 spaces there. All right. Yellow, you're going to close this gap. Yellow gets a purple. This is that part where it's like nail biting where everybody's making like little moves. Like we had some breakouts. Green in an upset gets Queen Frostine's Ice Cream Sea, moves into first position ahead of blue. Green holding up the rear for almost the entire game, pulls ahead. Look at, yeah. All right. Team Green. Yeah, no. Okay, Team Green. Oh, man. Now red's in the last. It's okay. Blue. All right, Team Blue, here's the time to shine. Blue gets blue, very on brand, advances 6 and gets ahead. So seizes at the end of the round. Blue still defends their lead by 2 spaces. 2. It's a tenuous lead. It's a tenuous lead. Red, what do we got, Red? Red draws red and advances 4. Yellow, we're getting down to the end of the stack. We're going to have to reshuffle. That's when it becomes anarchy. Okay. Yellow draws a red and gets 5 spaces ahead. Green, the green machine draws a yellow and moves only 1. Oh no. Oh no. Blue, what do we got? Blue draws a green and moves ahead 2. When we reshuffle, it's going to be the most, this is going to be a very interesting one here. All right. I think this is our last. Yeah, we have 4 cards. Here we go. Red draws a double red, first advancing 6 spaces. No, that's 6 spaces. No, 7 because of the little peanut brittle there, and then an additional 6 for a total of 13 spaces on that pull. That was a good one, Team Red. Yeah, you're in 4th place, but like Like I, something positive. Okay, so yellow. Yellow draws an orange 4 spaces ahead. Green, the green machine, drawing a red and pulling just ahead of blue. Just all right, blue. What does blue get? Blue draws a purple and moves just ahead of green. Now this is we got to reshuffle now. Now the game gets into insane mode because traditionally, according to the rules, we're breaking the original rules here. In the original rules, once you've played through the deck once, you remove all of the candy cards and you just go with color cards to avoid anybody getting pulled back further. We're not doing that. We will not go gentle into that good night. No, no, no. This is hardcore. I don't know if you're new to Old Crappy Couch, if you've ever seen one of these streams before, but when it comes to Candyland, we take Candyland very seriously around here. In fact, I am working on, and I will be streaming it as soon as I got it ready. But I did do a mashup of Candyland and Hero Quest. I wrote a solo player Hero Quest scenario where you use the 2021 Avalon Hill Hero Quest system, and you can pair that with the 2025 Candyland game, and it's called Candy Quest Nightmare of Redemption. And you play as your Hero Quest character seeking redemption. And it's really neat. I have it set up so you don't need Zargon, you don't need a game runner. The game runs itself. There's a simple set of rules for the behavior of the enemies, and it's a lot of fun. I'm getting the kinks hammered out, but I had a blast with it when I was getting it set up. So that's definitely something that we're going to play with because a mashup, it doesn't get much more hardcore than combining Hero Quest with Candyland. And I believe that if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I built it with the 2021 Hero Quest and the 2025 Candyland, but I believe that you could just as easily do the 1990 original Hero Quest and pair it with either this, the 84 Candyland, or one of the early 90s ones, and it would still play almost the same. There'd be a few differences based on the board variants, uh, but it should be pretty close. So that one's one that I do have in the pipe here for you because I'm not giving up on Candyland. No, you want to know? Here's an interesting fact. Here's something before we start the next round with our freshly shuffled deck. If any of you are ever wondering why my channel has like such an infatuation with Candyland, there's actually a surprising reason behind it. I'm going to dramatically take a drink here. And so when I was first doing game reviews, one thing I noticed was in real life, the board game community is incredibly welcoming, wonderful people. Everybody always wants to bring people into the hobby, and that's great. Something that I very much appreciate. But online, the board game community can be different. Some people are not always very nice to people who like games that they don't like. And when I first started reviewing really simple mass appeal games like Candyland, Clue, Monopoly, um, there's a reason why my comment section's moderation is set to strict. I took a lot of flack for not being intelligent and playing stupid games and things like that. But one thing I took offense to is the criticism of Candyland, especially me knowing what the intent was behind the invention of the game. And so I decided as a troll, I was going to lean hard into it. So it's linked in the description too. My original Candyland review, where I found the 55 and I found a bunch of different years and I went through all of them from start to finish. That was designed specifically as an FU to everybody who gave me a hard time about liking simple games and liking mass appeal games, and in particular ripping on Candyland. I decided we'll go deep and go hard on Candyland. And that way they'll know that this channel isn't for them. This channel is for people who enjoy having fun and having an open mind. And I appreciate each and every one of you who tune in and watch my videos, watch my live streams and my shorts. You all rock. It's so much fun. I'm so glad I found so many other people online who like to enjoy this stuff too. So keep coming, keep suggesting games you want me to review. There's so many out there. I don't even know them all, but I love classic games and antiques, and I'm always happy to hunt stuff down to give you a closer look. So by all means, drop them in the comments. I'm always happy to get suggestions on more games to find. But now that we've had a little explanation of why we lean so hard into Candyland, why we raise money for Eleanor's Candyland Kids fundraiser that benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, is because we love Candyland and everything that Candyland symbolizes: honesty, hope, and love. Let's play a good, honest game of Candyland. All right, here we go. Next in rotation, red team, first draw the fresh shuffled deck. Here it is, double purple, advancing one space and then an additional 7 for 8. There we go. Nice opening move. Yellow, yellow drawing a purple, advancing 4 spaces. Wow, purple, purple. Okay, purple, purple. All right. Better not be a purple burglar alarm. All right. Green. Green gets yellow and moves one space ahead of blue. Green team, you were so cheeky. You were so cheeky, green team. All right, blue team, let's see it. Let's see it. Blue team draws a Queen Frostine, which would be a major drawback, but this time it only takes them 6 back. If you're going to draw a candy, blue, oh, it's a little setback, but it could have been a whole lot worse. It's everybody's game still. All right, red, what do we got? Red draws a red and moves ahead 5 spaces there. Draws a red and moves ahead. Yellow, what do we got? Yellow draws a double red. What? First red drew double purple and yellow drew a double or a single purple. Now red draws a red and yellow draws a double red. What is this? Okay, 5 spaces and then an additional, oh, there we go, an additional 7. All right, for 12. Yellow has now taken second place. Green, where are we at? Green, double yellow, advancing 6 spaces past the molasses swamp for another 6. Green cinching that lead. Blue, are you going to close this down? Blue draws a red and settles right up next to yellow. They're in the same little. All right, so now going into the next round here, green has taken the lead in an upset. Yellow in second place. Blue tied for second place with yellow, and red following up in third. Here we go. Red. Team red gets an orange, advances 5 spaces here. Team yellow. Team yellow gets a yellow and advances 2. Team green, the green machine, double blue, advances 1 and then an additional 6. They're closing in, but they have to get a purple to win. All right, blue. Team blue draws a yellow and sidles up with yellow. So going into the round, we still have green in first, yellow and blue tied for second, and red for third. All right, here we go, red team. Red team pulls an orange, advances 7 spaces, closing the gap on second place. Yellow team follows up with a blue, advances 1 space. So it's just 1 ahead. Okay, this is really funny to me because yellow is on a blue space, blue is on a yellow space. Okay, green, here we go, green machine. Green draws a double orange, can only take advantage of 1, advancing 1 space. We need that purple to win the game. Here we go. Blue draws a purple and jumps ahead into second place with an advancement of 5. Still anybody's game. Red, we ready for this, red? Red draws an orange and advances 6 spaces ahead of yellow. It's getting tight. Look at this little. All right, yellow, here we go. Yellow draws a purple and sidles up on blue, sharing second place again. Ah! All right, green. Is it your time, green? Is it your time now? Green draws Mr. Mint and gets drawn all the way back to the peppermint forest. Oh, green. Oh, green. I thought it was your time. I thought your time had come. Poor green is just getting stepped on. Yeah, oh yeah, you celebrate on that. Yeah, sure. Yes, team blue being all right, team blue, let's see how you do. You ready for this, blue? Let's go. Blue gets a green. Falls. I was sitting there going, you dancing on their team blue celebrating team green getting set back. I thought karma was going to put you right here in the molasses swamp, but you fell 1 shy. You lucky dog. 1 shy. All right. All right, red. Here we go. Red gets a double green, advancing one, and then sidling up on the amount of space sharing we have in this game. What is going on? Our gingerbread men really, really like each other's company. All right, yellow. Yellow gets Princess Lolly and draws back to the lollipop forest, leaving red and blue fighting for first. We're tied for first. Red and blue is tied for first. Yellow drops into second. Green, let's see it. Green brings in a blue, moves ahead 6. There's still the possibility to move forward. This is still anybody's game. We could still get stuck in the molasses swamp. Princess Lolly and Mr. Mint are out of play. We still have Jolly the Gumdrop. We still have Plumpy. We still have Grandma Nut. We still have Queen Frostine. A lot can happen here. All right, blue, what do we got? You ready for this, blue? Blue gets a yellow, does advance past the molasses swamp, moves 3 spaces. Next rotation. Here we go. Red. Red gets a blue, advances 4 spaces, now taking the lead. All right, yellow. Yellow advances only 1 with a purple. Oh. Team yellow, I was feeling you. Team yellow, I was feeling you. Team green is the tragedy in this one. Team green is such a tragedy. Team green pulls a blue and advances 6 spots. I want to believe. Like I'm rooting for red because it's my channel logo color, but I want to believe in green. Blue, where are we going? Blue gets a purple and advances 5 places. If you draw another purple, blue team, you win. This is where the pressure's on. Here we go. Red team, are we ready for this next rotation here? Red team, red team, red team. Red team draws a red, very fashionable inside. Second place, just right up next to blue. Just right up. There we go. Just right. We're gonna be friends. We're gonna hold hands. All right. Yellow. Yellow draws a purple and advances 6. We are now up by the ice cream sea here. Green. Green draws a purple and advances 4, but that puts them at the base of Gumdrop Pass, which means they get to cut across the Gumdrop Mountains. Jolly gave them a little hand there. That was very nice. That was very nice. All right, blue. Here we go. Here we go, blue. Blue draws a purple. Again, blue wins. Blue, team blue, tearing it up today. Tearing it up. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. There we go. There we go. This is Team Blue has won the majority of Candyland runs today. That was our 1984. We did a couple runs of the 84. That was fun. I'm never going to live down failing the 1943 Chutes and Ladders demo. That was so hard. That was my first time attempting to do it on camera with the board backwards. And I got to say, like, that's haunting me. It is still haunting me. I got to practice so that I can read the numbers better from that direction. Because I'm sitting here just going, yeah, well, the board goes like, this is why Candyland is the superior game for this. I mean, I guess we could do a modern Chutes and Ladders, but again, I appreciate Chutes and Ladders for the history. I mean, the game it dates back to the 13th century. It's always been a morality play. It has breathtaking art. In particular, this 43 edition is just beautiful. But I gotta say, when it comes to like early childhood games, like let's just take a minute and appreciate. Like I like Cootie for what it is. It blends toy and game beautifully. Like that's the one thing that I do appreciate from Cootie is I understand the game's not really that fleshed out. I mean, realistically, you're just rolling a die or you are spinning a spinner to determine which parts to put on your Cootie and everything. However, that being said, little kids are always just absolutely delighted. And wouldn't you be too? I mean, look at little 1949 Cootie right there. 1949 and 2021. Look at that. I will say that 2021 is stable. It reminds me of the Mr. Potato Head toys. Like you could actually pick this up and play around. The 49, it's a little bit loose. It's been loved. The parts fit together, but the tolerances are a bit different. Now, the interesting thing is the 49, I would feel like kids not being gentle enough with it would be the problem. Whereas this one, it requires a little bit more robust handling. So, but just gotta appreciate that. But Candyland's such a great. I don't like when people try to say Candyland is overly simple when I actually think it is overly simple, but by design, and it hits the mark beautifully. We just did a 2025. I really kind of wanted. Should we do a 55? Should we do a run of the 55 again? You guys want to run a 55? Because I kind of want to run a 55 again. I'm gonna do it. I can drive 55. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, this is real close to the 41, real close, but there are some art differences. Or I'm sorry, the 49. There are some art differences. Now we're getting into, we've got over 200 spaces here. So if you're gonna do hardcore Candyland, like real, like if you want to actually take this seriously and go pro, you really got to go with one of the older sets. The newer sets are great. They're made for the younger audience. These kids just don't understand what it's like to bleed for your board games, and that's okay. I mean, they're soft. I get it. They're young, but if you've ever really wanted to put in a mouth guard and get to business, you gotta get into one of these older vintage Candylands pre 1963, where you have the full set of spaces on here, because this is where it's at. This is where it's at. Honestly, full contact Candyland is. Get out of the way, kid. This is Candyland. This is awesome. This is. Okay. So now we don't have kids. We got the pawns. And see what I mean, though? If you go back to 55, the kids are much more unique. The kids are. Oh yeah, making a Ninja Turtle. Yeah, I could see doing Cootie with like a theme like Ninja Turtle. Absolutely. The kids on here though, yeah, the boy and the girl have completely distinct outfits. They have the little beady eyes that you get in like 1950 style art around that time, which I think is actually endearing. It'd normally be a little off-putting, describing a child as having beady eyes, but in this instance, it works. We still have a lot of the same shortcuts. We still have a lot of the same drawbacks. No characters. Instead of trying to rescue the missing King Candy, now we're simply trying to get to home, sweet home. This is going to be fun. This is going to be good. These ones are always a bloodbath. All right. As usual, we Roy G. Biv this and start the rotation with red. Woo-woo. Here we go, red team. Red team draws a yellow and advances 3 spaces. Yellow team, what's yellow team getting? Yellow team gets an orange and advances 1 ahead of red. See, it's already a close race. Green team, Team Green draws a double purple. Now, this is fantastically interesting because the first purple would land by the Rainbow Trail, but I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't think that you can just hit that purple, then go to the trail, then go to the next purple. I think you have to follow the 2 purples there. Not trying to mess with anybody, but I think you have to end on the spot to get the shortcut. So it is a good pull, but an unfortunate one early on. All right, here we go. Here we go. Blue team draws a blue, very on brand. Gets to move 1 space onto the board. Here we go. Red team draws a double red, moves 2 spaces, and then an additional 6 just past the Candy Hearts, sidling up right behind green for second place. Yellow draws a yellow, again, sticking loyal to their color there, at 5 spaces advanced. Okay. Green, you ready for green? Draws a double green. There we go. Advancing 2 and then an additional 7 right there. All right, blue team, are you ready? Blue team just won 2 in a row on the 1984 Candyland. Now we went back to 55 to increase the difficulty. Let's see how blue's luck is. Blue draws a purple, lands on the base of the rainbow trail, and gets to Team Blue. Team Blue cuts almost half the track. Right. The second round, Team Blue gets a commanding lead. All right. Team Red, let's see if we can get it. Team Red moves a paltry one. Oh. All right, Team Yellow. Team Yellow gets blue and moves ahead of Team Red into third place. Oh no. Team Green. Team Green draws a purple and advances 4. All right, Team Blue, where's the magic? You still got some magic going on, Team Blue? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Team Blue draws the candy hearts and drops to 4th place. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh, but I am. It's so good. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, we're all just tied right here. Green is finally having their day. Did you notice Team Green? Team Green didn't do anything super impressive, but Team Green is now in the lead. Oh, wow. Team Green, is this going to be your game? Is Team Green, the green machine, going to come out from behind? Let's see it. Okay, starting the next rotation. Red draws a green and moves 1 space ahead of yellow in the second. Yellow draws a green and ties with red for second place. Green draws a purple and advances 6 spaces. Blue, here we go. Blue draws a green and oh, green is in first. Red, yellow, and blue are tied for second. I have never seen this on a Candyland board. I have never seen this on the Candyland board where 3 players are tied on 1 space. That is like a miracle. And if you believe in miracles, you can help bring one about by donating right now to Eleanor's Candyland Kids, my ongoing fundraiser that benefits St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. You'll notice it tied to this video. Thank you so much for your support. You are making a difference in the life of a child who really needs it. All right, let's get to the next rotation here, starting with Team Red. Team Red draws the candy cane, which at least lets me advance 5 spaces. All right, Team Yellow. Team Yellow draws a double blue, which first advances 6 spaces past the candy cane, and then an additional 6, maneuvering Team Yellow into second place. Team Green draws an orange, advancing 3 spaces, securing their lead, and Team Blue draws a yellow, advancing 1. So going into the next round, green is in the lead, yellow second place, red third place, blue bringing up the rear in 4th. All right, here we go. Red rotation. Red gets orange, moves ahead 4 spaces. Yellow team, you ready for this? Let's see some magic. Yellow team draws a red, advances 4 spaces. Green, you ready to build this lead, Green? Green draws a purple, advances 3 spaces. Okay. And blue, the comeback kid, gets a yellow. Oh, advances 7 spaces and sidles up right behind red. You're going to push red into 4th place. It's getting tight here. It's getting tight. All right, in the next rotation, here we go. Starting off with red. Red draws the ice cream floats. Red advances across the map to the ice cream floats. Red takes a commanding lead. My time. I knew it was my time. I knew it was my time. I knew it was my time. It was my time. It's my time now. It's anybody's game, really, still. We've seen this. Blue has been with me for a while. We've seen this before. Oh, I rigged it. I rigged it after losing all day. Yeah. Just watch. Just watch. With my luck, just watch. All right, yellow, you ready for this, Team Yellow? Team Yellow draws a double green. There's 3 and then an additional 7, pulling ahead into second place. Team Green, the green machine, pulls a red, advancing 5 spaces. Team blue bringing up the rear. Where's my magic, blue? Yellow advancing 6 spaces. So going into this rotation, red now has a commanding lead of over half the board. I don't always get a lead in Candyland, but when I do, it's short lived. Yellow is in third place, following green. Sorry, I looked at that backwards here. Green is in second place here, really close to the mountain pass. If green manages to pull a purple, green will cut a good portion of their journey. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the candy cane, the candy hearts, and the ice cream floats are the only ones that have been drawn so far. So we still have the lollipop forest, the crooked little gingerbread house, crooked little peanut brittle house, the gingerbread plum tree. Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? Gingerbread plum tree. That's a tough one. And we have the gumdrops. So we still have a lot of opportunity for upsets here. All right, going into the next rotation, red. Red, I know, where is Plumpy when you need him, right? They should never ever make a Candyland without Plumpy. Justice for Plumpy. Okay, red. Here we go. Double orange, moving up 4 spaces and then an additional 6, commanding that lead. Yellow. Here we go. Yellow drawing a double purple. Oh, if it would have been a single, you would have gotten to take that shortcut, but it does give you a good jump into second place. Green. Can you get a single purple? I've seen weirder. Green gets a red, sidling up right behind yellow, so not letting them off that easy. Blue, here we go. Blue gets a red, moving up 2 spaces. I'm expecting it. That's what's got me, is that the tension is building because I know how blue works. Blue's gonna wait till I'm like right here and then move right here. I just know it. Okay, red. Ready for the next rotation, red. Red gets blue, advancing 3 and then an additional 6. It's scary because as this deck gets, I know the odds of running into candy. This is going to be all right. Yellow draws a blue and advances 1 space. Green gets a red and advances ahead of yellow. Actually gets to advance 7 spaces, just past the Gumdrop Mountain Pass. Okay, so green is in second place and demanding attention. Here's blue. Blue draws an orange and advances 5. It's still anybody's game. It looks tough, but it's still anybody's game. All right, time for the next rotation. Red, here we go, draws a purple. That came really close to getting stuck in the molasses swamp. It advanced me 5. I do not want to be drawing a blue. Okay, yellow. Yellow draws a double yellow, very on brand. So advances 2 and then an additional 7 for 9. Taking second place from green. Green, are you going to take that? You going to sit down for that? Yeah, you are. You move 2 spaces and you're still behind yellow. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Drawing a blue there. All right, blue. Green. Okay. I was waiting for it. All right, 5 spaces. Blue is the one I'm watching here, man. Blue is tricky. Red, I'm rooting for because it's my team, but blue's got something. All right, red. Red draws the gumdrops and drops to 3rd place. Remember when I told you it was still anybody's game? Yeah, green is patiently biding their time. I see it. I can see the biding right from here. Oh, I'm physically seething from that one. Okay. Yellow, here we go. Yellow draws a yellow, very on brand, but it moves them ahead 7 spaces and past the little cherry pitfall so they don't get stuck. So not bad, yellow. Green, green pulls the lollipops. Green gets to jump about 1/3 of the map past the lollipop woods. In an upset, green coming out, swinging. Still anybody's game, but that was a heck of a move, green. Blue, do you got anything in you? Blue draws a purple. Not bad, though. Puts it at the base of the mountain pass, moving ahead of red for 3rd place. So now, as we go into this round, red has dropped back to 4th place. Wow, that is rough. So green is now in the lead with an upset at the Lollipop Woods. Yellow is in second place here as it passes the gingerbread plum tree. Blue just passed the mountain pass to beat out red, which got pulled back to the Gumdrop Mountains. What a crazy game. It's actually, I mean, green has a massive lead, so this is your time to flex that lead, green. All right, here we go. Red. All right. So red gets to move one. Underwhelming. Yellow. Here we go. Yellow moves four. There we are. Green. Green gets to move three with a red. See, there's still more in play here. I'm nervous. Blue, what do we got? Blue draws a yellow and advances 7 spaces. Red, I believe in you. Gets an orange. I mean, I believe in you. I'd like results for my belief. Yellow, here we go, Team Yellow. Team Yellow moves 5 ahead. There we go. Team Green. Team Green could really, really seal this deal here. Blue, they only moved 2 ahead though. I'm optimistic on green here. All right. Team Blue. Are we ready for this upset? They're not upsetting it yet. Moves ahead 4 spaces. All right. I believe Team Red, my time is now. Orange. Okay, well, I mean, not bad. I mean, I get to move ahead 7. See, these players were all close. Team Green really got their commanding lead here. Yellow. Yellow draws an orange and advances 4 spaces. There we are. Green. Here we go, green. Green draws a gingerbread man and gets pulled all the way back to the gingerbread plum tree. I forgot the gingerbread man was still in play. That's a tough one, Green. That's a tough. Green has been doing so well this game. So well. All right, Blue. Blue, here we go. Blue draws peanut brittle and gets to jump ahead to the crooked little peanut brittle house, taking first place at the end of the round in an upset after a massive setback. Now we're still really close here, but at the end of this round, as it stands, Blue now holds the lead at the crooked peanut brittle house. Yellow following it up in second place. Red is back here by the Gumdrop Mountains, and green all the way back in 4th at the gingerbread plum tree. That's all right. We're almost ready for a reshuffle too, which is really going to make the game crazy, but we still have a couple more rounds. I'm guessing we got 2 or 3 more rounds before we got a reshuffle. Now, starting with red, here we go. Favoritism. Haha. Red gets a double red, moving 1 and then an additional 6 for 7. Not bad. Yellow. Yellow gets green and moves ahead 4 spaces. Green. Green gets a blue and moves ahead 2 spaces. Blue. Blue gets an orange, moves ahead 1. Okay. Maybe I was a little too cheeky before pulling that. I was really expecting more. I expected more. Okay. Red, here we go. Red draws a red. Oh, gets to move ahead 6 spaces. Not bad. Yellow. Yellow draws a green, gets to move ahead 5 spaces. It's metered. It's very metered progress. Green moves 4 spaces ahead by drawing a red. Blue. Is this your time, Blue? Blue gets a double orange. There's a pull. 6 spaces followed by an additional 6. Blue advances 12 spaces. All right, Blue. Looks like I see where you're going with this. I see. I don't always have to agree with it, but I see it. Red. Here we go. Red gets a double yellow, moving 4 spaces and then an additional 6, putting red in second place, just ahead of yellow. There we go. Little bit of progress here. Yellow, are you going to take that? Yellow draws a yellow and ties with red on that yellow space. Ketchup and mustard. All right, green. Green, here we go. Green bringing me 3 spaces. Team green, team green. All right, blue. What's the last card in the stack? Ready for this? Green. Okay, moves 4. Ooh, fell just shy of getting stuck in a sticky spot. All right, all right. So that rotation ends. And now we got to reshuffle. And we are looking at blue in the lead with a pretty commanding amount, almost 15 spaces. Then we have red and yellow tied for second place, with green following us up at the Gumdrop Mountains. This is, and keep in mind, it is still so much anybody's game because we're not, according to official rules of Candyland, we are playing the hardcore rules. The official rules of Candyland are once you reshuffle the deck, you take any of the candy location pieces out to reduce the volatility of the game in the second half. We like volatility around here, so we leave them in so that the game stays interesting. With this shuffle, green will conquer Candyland. The other thing we're doing differently from traditional Candyland is normally you just need the next color in the rotation past whatever the last color is to win. However, that's not printed that way on the game. And so to add extra difficulty, you have to draw the exact color at the end of the game to win. This allows a catch up mechanic. So we are adding a mechanic to both knock people back and a mechanic to help them catch up. So keeping that in mind, this is hardcore Candyland. We take this very seriously. Blue's got it in the bag, huh? Oh boy, I'll tell you what, the red blue green rivalry is getting pretty thick. Do we even have a team yellow? Is there is there even a is there even a team yellow, or is team yellow just is yellow just kind of there? Is yellow having an existential crisis? It's like, I don't have a team. I'm on my team. Want to get a good shuffle here. Oh man, these cards are really thick too. These are thick and they were perforated. They came. I can tell by looking at them that when they came in 1955, they were in a big old perforated sheet and had to be punched out. And it's funny because I had to do that with the 2021, and they were so thin they like tore. Whereas these are so thick, I'm willing to bet you could just give it a solid flick and pop it right out. So they just paper products, man. Some of them they just don't make how they used to. Ah, trying to keep these from flipping too. So keep accidentally flipping them. They're so thick. All right. All right. Here we go. Here we go. I think we got a good shuffle there. Got through a bunch of them. We're on to the second half of the game. The 55 edition. All the editions that we've been playing today. The 55 is our toughie here. If you're having a good time, make sure that you take note of Eleanor's Candyland Kids, my ongoing fundraiser benefiting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. All right, red team's leading this one off. I get pulled all the way back to the peppermint stick forest. Ah! All right, yellow. Ooh. All right, team yellow. If there is a team yellow, gets a double green, advances 5, and then an additional 6 there for 11. Maybe I'll just jump ship, go to the winning team. team green. Team green pulls an orange and moves ahead 2 spaces. Team blue. Team blue draws a double blue, advances 6, and then an additional 6. Ooh, just moving, just cooking. Team red, let's get some redemption. Team red draws lollipops. Team red gets to move 2 spaces ahead of team blue, stealing the lead in the lollipop woods. We represent the lollipop guild. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Team red, feeling good. That was a roller coaster of emotions for me. I get to celebrate a little bit of that. All right, team yellow. Team yellow draws an orange, moves ahead 2. Coming for you. All right. Team green. Team green draws a green, very on brand, moves ahead 4. All right, blue, it's your time to shine. Are you ready for this? Team blue draws a green, advances 1 space. Oh no. Oh, how frustrating. All right, team red. Team red draws a double yellow, advances 1 space, and then an additional 6 for 7 spaces. Team yellow. Team yellow draws a purple and advances 2 spaces. Team green. The green machine. You got this, green? Green gets a double red. Not bad. Advances 4 and then an additional 6. Okay, we got 10 spaces out of that one. Blue, you ready now? Blue gets a blue, very on brand. Moves 6 spaces, still in second. So red is leading by only 2 spaces, followed by blue. Yellow bringing up third place by the Crooked Peanut Brittle House, and green back here by the Gumdrop Mountain Pass. All right, red team, double yellow. That advances 7 and then an additional 6 for 13. That was a pull. That was a pull. All right. Yellow. Yellow draws a double orange, advancing 4 and then an additional 6 for 10. Closing the gap there, yellow. Closing the gap. Green. Green draws a red and is stuck in the cherry pitfall. Green must draw another red to escape the cherry pitfall. You have activated the trap card. Blue, mediocre. All right, blue. Blue draws a red and advances 4 spaces. All right, next rotation. Red. Red draws a blue and advances 4. Okay, yellow. Is there a team yellow? If anybody's rooting for team yellow, now's your time. Team yellow draws a purple, advances 2. Green. How you doing, green? You ready for this, team green? Team green draws a purple, cannot advance. Team blue. Team blue draws a green, advances 4 spaces. Team red. Team red draws a purple, advances 5 spaces. This is terrible because if we start pulling all the purples out of the deck, we're going to be in trouble. Oh, actually, no, the end space on this one is green. Okay, so the end space on the 84 is purple. The end space on this one is green. So green's what we got to watch. All right, yellow. Yellow team. You ready for this, yellow team? Yellow team draws an orange, advances 4 spaces. Green team. Green team draws a blue, advances 1. Oh, wait, no, that's right. You can't advance. You're in the cherry pit. See, this is why I have to make sure that I get the little black thing visible on me. I don't leave you on that space. Poor green just stuck there. Who cheats at Candyland? I almost cheated at Candyland. Terrible. Terrible example I'm setting for the children. All right. Blue. Blue draws a red, advances 3 spaces. Red. It's red's time in the rotation. Red draws a yellow and advances 3 spaces. There we go. Yellow. Yellow in the rotation. Yellow draws the ice cream float. Yellow advances up behind blue, closing the distance. There we go. There we go. This is getting nasty because now ice cream and lollipops are out of the rotation. So now everything left. Green could benefit by getting the peanut brittle, but everything left is a drawback. This is where it gets a little extreme. All right, green, can you draw red to get out of there? And green does. Draws a red, advances 5 spaces. Green is back in the rotation. And blue, here we go. Blue draws a blue, very on brand, moves ahead 2 spaces. I'm going to take a drink here before this next rotation. Woo, woo. It's getting heated. It's getting heated. No halftime show. Nice. A little late for that. All right. Here we go. Red. Don't be candy hearts. Don't be candy hearts. Whew. Okay, it's a red. I advance 2 spaces. I will accept that. I accept you. Okay. Yellow. Yellow gets a double orange, advances 4 and then an additional 6 for 10, taking second place away from blue. Green. Green gets a blue, advances 4 spaces. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Sorry, advances 2 spaces. There we go. Jeez, what am I doing? I got it backwards there. It goes around. It goes around. Okay. Got to make sure green has their shot there. All right. Blue. Blue gets a purple and moves ahead 5 spaces. Time for the next rotation. Red. Red gets double blue. Comes. Now, how does this work? Because the first blue would put me in the stuck until you draw another blue card, but I did get a double. So I'm going to go ahead and say I get to move boom, boom. So I got past the molasses swamp. That was a really weird one. That was all right. Yellow. Yellow draws a purple and sidles up right along next to blue for a tie for second place. Green. Green's your time. Green draws a yellow, moves ahead 2. All right, here we go. Blue. Blue gets a double red. Nice jump. First 5 and then an additional 6, closing that gap. This is going to be a photo finish. Oh, man. Red. Red draws a red, advances 4. Yellow. Yellow draws an orange, advances 4. Green. Green, is it your time? Not quite. Green draws a green, moves 5. Blue. Got a lot riding on you. Blue gets a purple and moves 1. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Red, here we go. Red. Red gets a green. Red gets a green. Red gets a green and wins the game. Finally, red pulls one in today. Thank you. I accept victory. Good game, everybody. Good game. But I am very excited to finally win. Blue is pitching. Shut up. Oh, you're rolling your eye. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Thanks for showing up, Red. I will take my participation trophy. Thank you. I think I deserve a participation trophy. I just can't do another Chutes and Ladders. That just wrecked me. I'm going to be terrified of Chutes and Ladders here. Okay, so we've done a 2025. We've done an 84. We did play some Hi Ho Cheerio, which Hi Ho Cheerio is just not really a great one for this stuff. I kind of want to attempt a modern Chutes and Ladders, but I still kind of think it sucks. Should we? All right, you know what? Just to get the whole set, I just really don't like the 2021 Candyland. That's the thing. Is I just hate that 2021 Candyland. I like the 84, the 2025, the 55, but that 2021, man, we're gonna complete the set. We're gonna do it just because I feel like being a completionist. So I'm gonna put myself through it. That'll be a good move, I guess. We'll try it. We'll give it a shot. We'll give it a, this has been kind of an interesting day going through the history of a lot of these games.